Welcome to the inaugural episode of the Buttons and Buds podcast. It is January 4th here today, and this is DB or Nugget, the Nugget Supreme here, recorded on Riverside with Brendan here, good buddy of mine. He makes his own podcast. If you want to talk a little bit about who you are, Brendan.
Sure, yeah. Hi, my name is Brendan Oak. Also last name Oak on Twitch if you follow me for video game streaming stuff. Yeah, I'm the writer, producer, and creator of the podcast Edge of Madness Pod. I've designed the game Altered, which we play in Edge of Madness Pod. Yeah, I stream on Twitch sometimes. Been playing video games basically my entire life, and me and DB have been playing video games for the better part of our lives, more or less together. So thought it'd be fun to talk about it.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, I mean, I've been playing games for really long time, like since the PlayStation era, like PlayStation 1. One of
Mhm.
my neighbors across the street gave me and my dad a PlayStation 1 because my dad did some like work on her house. And then
That's
he and
cool.
I just bonded like crazy. We played a bunch of that game. Like, what was it? It was the Metal Gear Solid 3. It was one of the Metal Gear Solids that was like on PlayStation and
Heck yeah.
super fun. Like, got into all of the like stealth mechanics and RPG. And played WoW for a number of years, played a bunch of different stuff. I got really back into gaming recently, I guess like 7 years ago, 8 years ago now, playing Fortnite. And I actually started making maps on Fortnite and did a bunch of like mini games and stuff like that.
Nice.
And I
Way
ended
for
up getting
residual
on,
income.
yeah, just barely getting on like the Fortnite creator program. And I did it a little bit. I made some maps, I published the codes, but I didn't really push super hard to like try to get people to use my code in the shop. But I got to the point where I could have made some money from it. And then
Nice.
it just ended up not really being quite the thing I wanted to focus on. So I focused on work and some other personal stuff. But recently I've been playing a lot of Rust, a lot of survival games in general, and a lot of Arc Raiders too. But yeah, so that's a little bit about who we are. The goal with this kind of podcast and the channel is to just highlight games, highlight weird community stuff, talk about things we're interested in, and just kind of connect, maybe build a little community and go from there. I mean, there's no real set goals, but I've always had the intentions of kind of talking about gaming content and just the stuff that interests me for a while. One thing that ends up making me laugh about some of these videos is I play a lot of games that I'm really interested in. So oftentimes I will be watching people talk about games and like they haven't quite figured out the thing that they're actually talking about and they're still making content on it. I don't know. Hoping to bring some of that obsession to sharing some information, talking about games and stuff like that. So,
Hyperfixations, if you will.
yeah.
No,
Oh
yeah,
yeah. Oh
I,
yeah.
I I get I get incredibly hyperfixated as well. And I'm usually the first one to immediately say, okay, someone told me this, but I feel like I want to go test it first before I actually kind of take that as the truth. And so yeah, no, I'm excited to actually do some scientific method on some of these stuff people say about whatever game me and you are playing or games we're playing individually, and put it to the test and see if it's actually true or not. I think that would be a really fun thing to do for people instead of just jumping to conclusions for clickbait. And it's funny you mentioned
Mhm.
you and your dad bonded over video gaming, because that's how I got into video games as well. When I was young, I was like maybe 5 or 6, maybe even younger than that. My dad found out that they were making a Pac-Man world game where you could like walk around in a 3D world as Pac-Man, and there was like platforming and all sorts of stuff like that. And he immediately ran and bought a PS2. And then him and my uncle at the time would just hang out and play that like constantly until his hyperfixation on it kind of ended. And then he gave me the PS2. And I mean, Jack and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank. I had a buddy who had a PS1. I would go over to his house and play Silent Hill 2, much to my parents' chagrin when I was like 9. Shit, the original Resident Evils, a lot of those. I think my very first game though that like really, really made me love gaming would probably be, man, I have to think about this. What did I play the most? I'd probably Crash Bandicoot, actually. Like the first Crash
Mhm.
Bandicoot.
Yeah, one of the first that I remember playing was probably that Metal Gear game. God, I want to say it was.
I mean, we have the entire World Wide Web at our disposal. We can figure this out.
Yeah, it was PS1. I think honestly, actually, it was probably the
Just the first
original Metal Gear
Metal
Solid.
Gear Solid, yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. Actually, I
See.
actually heard Kojima's making a new not Metal Gear Solid. They did just do the like remake of Metal Gear Solid 4 or something, but he's making a new like tactical sort of espionage action game here
Oh
pretty
yeah.
soon.
Yeah, it was definitely Metal Gear Solid. I remember sneaking around all the blocky textures and like avoiding the guards. It was
Oh
just
hell yeah.
I was terrible at it because I was like 8 at the time or something like that when my
No,
dad
yeah,
like
you
got
don't
this.
you're just sitting there like I'm getting shot. What the fuck?
He was like, trying to teach me stealth at the time.
Oh,
But I remember
that's
that
amazing.
game. One of the first series I played myself that I loved was those MX versus ATV games. I got
Oh yeah.
super into like the physics and of like riding around, jumping around the map, upgrading your
Mhm.
bikes, and like
Mhm.
racing people.
Mhm.
I loved those. I have distinct
Mhm.
memories of just like racing to the border of the map just to hit that barrier that would shoot you back into the map when you're on like free ride.
Yep.
Oh man. But, yeah, and then I mean, I haven't actually played a Metal Gear recently now that I come to think about it. I have played a bunch of, like, motocross and, like, car games recently, and it's crazy how far the physics games have come.
Mhm.
Like, there's this new game, MX Bikes, that I haven't got, but it's supposed to have extremely accurate physics, and it's supposed to be kinda
Ooh.
hard in the sense that, like, skate on like the hardest mode of like controls is actually very hard to do tricks. So it's kind of like the same premise with like dirt bikes. So I've been thinking about trying that. I think it'd be
Sounds like
really
fun.
good.
Yeah, yeah, especially if you have like the driving rig for it. I know people have the driving rigs on
Oh, that yeah,
PC,
that
and
would
I
be
know those are really
crazy.
cool.
I feel like most of the motorcycle games you just have to play on controller,
Makes
unless you're
sense.
like
Yeah.
if you're driving, the rigs are nice for sure.
Wow, me
That
and you
I've
went
been
very
like
different directions.
I've been cursed with that though, like, so
Right,
at
right.
work, we have a sim racing rig that I have
Oh,
set
cool.
up on one of my spare PCs,
Yeah, yeah.
and that rig is so nice that I actually don't enjoy playing on my, like, chintzy one that I have at home now because
I
the one
mean,
I
yeah,
have at
no.
home is just not nice enough. It's like
Yeah.
it leaves me, like, wishing for more, so I gotta upgrade the driving rig for sure because I love
Right,
sim
right.
racing.
No, yeah, right, totally. I mean, it's very akin to like if you booted up a PS1 today and put it into like an HDMI, driven TV with this like a smart TV. And
Mhm.
that was your go-to at home. And then like at work, you had a PS5 Pro. You'd be like, damn man, I don't know the graphics.
Yeah.
But no,
But
that's it's
yeah,
cool that you have that though. Being able to play on something like that must make you in the same way that like after I started making podcasts, I started noticing sound a lot more. Very much like that sort of vibe where like you notice a lot more granularity in the things that you're doing towards the end of
for
the
sure.
medium that you're playing, which is for this case the racing game.
Thinking of like games like Metal Gear Solid, I am interested to see where like the next generation of like VR goes with that type of stuff. Because on the Oculus Quest, I've played
Mm,
a decent amount and really enjoyed like Blade and Sorcery. And there's a
okay.
bunch of games like that where it's like physics based and you have guns and swords and stuff, and they're trying to build like working AI so that you can actually like sneak around and fight through dungeons and stuff. So
That's
I'm
cool.
interested
That's
to
really
see
cool.
where that comes and like goes full circle, like, you know, it's a little bit more mainstream, I guess. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens because right
Well, I know
now
like
I
yeah.
follow a
I
couple of like VR content creators, and it seems like
yeah.
the multiplayer content is like there, but it's not as well refined as it could be. So
Sure,
we'll
sure.
see.
No, yeah, I get that. I feel like VR is very much in the like latent stage, kind of like I feel like it's at the place that like PS2 was at or like Xbox 360 was at, a
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
long time ago where like it's just starting to get better. And so,
Mhm.
like, I mean, I know for a fact, like, you can port over, and they actually have it built into the game now for Resident Evil 8. There's a VR version that comes with the gold
Yeah.
edition of it that you can just fully run that game in VR, and people say it actually runs, like, very well. Same with Silent Hill 2, the remake that, Bloober Studio did. You can fully run that in VR. There's actually a dude on YouTube, you should check him out sometime. I'm, like, totally forgetting his name right now, but, he puts on a VR headset and sleeps inside of horror games.
Oh god, that sounds terrible.
So he did,
But
like, Dead
yeah, I'm
Space,
sure that's
Silent Hill,
hilarious.
Resident Evil. Yeah, it's really funny just why because
Nightmares.
he'll have, like, him, like, trying to sleep and then the actual screen of, like, what's going on, and he'll be like, "Fuck, is that a monster coming around the corner?" And this thing will come and fire. He's like, "Fuck, man, I gotta get up." And he starts getting up and running away, and then he finds another spot to hang out, and then he falls back asleep.
That's wild. Well, I mean, to each their own, you know? I
Yeah.
feel like someday, the all the corporations like Meta want us all to be there, just like living in VR eventually. The
Oh,
metaverse.
absolutely. Absolutely. If you've ever read the, comic book series Tokyo Ghost, by Rick Remender, very, very much that vibe where, like, for if you guys don't know what that is, it's basically, like, really far in the future. It's like 2150. It takes place in LA and then afterwards in Tokyo, and, like, I mean, yeah, people just spend their whole days in VR, and, like, some people are so addicted to content, they literally have it in their headsets that they walk around with, basically like big glasses just on in the
Mhm.
background with everything they can see at all times.
Yeah, we're getting there, man. The new headsets are getting pretty small, getting
Yeah.
surprisingly good. It blows me away.
Well, you have the meta glasses now where you can just like ask Google a question and like it'll pop up the answer on the screen of your glasses. And I find that so wild.
Yeah. We'll see where it goes, man. I'm interested, yeah, with those new AI glasses. Like, I think that'll be a really cool feature for people. Honestly, if it doesn't like turn into something terrible and dystopian, like I saw a really cool demo where it's like some guy lost a tool or something, and he was like, "Hey, where did I set this?" I was like, "Oh yeah, you set it on this shelf, here in
Oh, that's
your like
cool.
apartment." Like, "Oh, I forgot where my keys are." And then your like meta glasses can tell you, which is like terrifying and also like awesome at the same time. So
Right. Well,
we'll
it's a
see.
double-edged sword, right? It's like the evolution of like shoes, right? We had shoes and now our feet cannot handle walking on gravel and all sorts of shit unless you're like Peter Jackson and you like specifically go out and walk barefoot for like a year and then you get calluses on your feet that allow you to like do that. It's very similar to that. We're basically going to be evolving past having to remember certain things, 2 generations from now if something like that becomes very mass marketable. I don't know that people are really gonna know how to do anything without having glasses on to tell them where to go and what to do, and you can kinda see that in society with, like, Google Maps. So many of, people in their, like, very, very early teens up to, like, even late 20s now get anxiety from driving without Google Maps.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I had that same funny experience. I went on vacation recently and I put my phone through the washer on like the first day of vacation.
Oh,
So I needed to go replace it.
right, right.
And it was just not working to track anything. And I had to
Oh,
like
no.
get in the car, look up where Verizon was just so I like knew where it was physically because I
Right,
was in a
right.
town I had never
You had to,
been
like,
to.
map
And
quest that shit.
I'm like, all right, I need to know these two streets, turn here. And like I definitely tried to test myself like that, even just like, in Colorado. But it was a funny test of my mental capacity to actually navigate because you definitely start to rely on it like a crutch, man.
Yeah,
It's
well, yeah,
hilarious.
you're just like, I don't need to know where things are, and then, my favorite is whenever I drive for Lyft occasionally, and I will have it where, like, it's always the older people, it's always people, like, over 60 usually, that are like, okay, so they'll get in the car and I'll be like, "Oh, so where are you going?" Just conversationally, not actually trying to figure out where they're going, like a taxi. They take it that way though, and they'll be like, "Oh, okay, so you're gonna make a left here, you're gonna make a right here. There's this landmark, and you're just gonna make a U-turn around that, and then I'm right on the right." I'm like, "Dude, it's on the app. I was just asking what you're doing, just to make conversation."
Well, at least there's some people out there who are still able to do that. I like to
Oh
test
yeah, they
myself every
exist.
once in a while for sure.
It's good for your brain. It's good for your brain. Absolutely. But yeah, no. Well, let me.
Let's see here. Let's cut back to some game questions. So I guess, yeah, going back to like the first game you remember playing, remind me what that was again.
Yeah, the very first game I remember playing, and I'm gonna find it right now. I think it's called Pac-Man World. Yeah,
Pac-Man
Pac-Man
World, that's what
World.
you're talking about. And, what was like the theme of that game? I don't think I've actually played Pac-Man. I'm gonna look it up
Right.
too.
So it's literally like you're playing Pac-Man, right? You're like you have to like get the yellow balls. You get chased by ghosts occasionally, but they made it 3D, so you're actually
Oh,
walking from
okay.
like a third person perspective first of all. And you're like platforming as well. So there's like, you have to jump across a bunch of ledges. You have to like roll up a ramp and go off and hit a certain spot to be able to get all the yellow spots. The ghosts will show up and you have to fight them as like a boss.
Interesting. Yeah, I can't say that I've ever even seen this game before, but it
I
looks
it's
pretty
so niche,
awesome.
man. You're not the only one. So many people. So this came out in 1999.
Yeah, I have it on PlayStation as well.
So I
That's
was
cool.
4 when I was playing this
Damn.
game. And yeah, I mean, I loved it though. The platforming in it made me. I think that's what got me like on the Crash Bandicoot, and then ultimately Jack and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank was just yeah. Like I Oh man, I don't know what about it was so fun. I haven't played that game since I was 4 because I immediately like my dad. I think I beat it or I got bored with it. I don't really remember, but then my dad got me one of the Crash Bandicoot games. I think it was the first one, and
I
Spyro.
feel like that open world platformer genre has just been like such a trope for so long, like since those first generation of games and like that generation basically where you could actually render things in 3D.
Hmm.
There's so many of them now. I mean, it's crazy. The most recent one I played was probably I mean, Enshrouded is like a little bit like that, where like there's a lot of verticality, but it's just so much more about exploring. But I guess you could almost say it's still in the same vein because it's like an exploration open world game where you're trying to like complete objectives and stuff. But
Yeah, I'm looking at
yeah,
it. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that this okay. What is Enshrouded for our audience?
it's like a more of like an RPG. I would say I would put it kind of in the line of like Valheim and some stuff
Yeah.
like that,
Okay.
like a
Yeah.
single
Yeah.
to like multiplayer PvE co-op
Okay.
RPG.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think like there's also this other game, Supraland, that I've only played a little tiny bit of.
Oh, sure. Okay. This is
It's like a
enjoy.
puzzle game.
Yeah.
This I feel like is probably more in line with like what, the future of Pac-Man worlds kind of is.
Right.
But
Right.
it's crazy to say like the how the scale of the world has really increased,
Absolutely.
and then like just the like level of like graphics and fidelity, but some of the like core tropes are still the same where you're like trying to complete a little puzzle by like, fighting a mob, hitting a couple of buttons and getting into the room,
Mhm. Well, yeah, I
but
mean, I
it
think I
still
think the
holds
last thing
up.
I played to that yeah, well, that people love that genre of just like I think the only thing that's really changed besides, the obvious graphics and fidelity is like taking rails off of things. And some of those games still have those rails. The last game I played that was very platformery like this was Split Fiction.
Yeah, yeah. I played It Takes Two with Sammy and we love that game.
Yeah, no, same vein where you're like, you have a very specific objective. That one does have rails where you're like going a very specific direction. You can't really like they give you a little bit of a illusion of choice where like you can do side quests and stuff, but it's mostly just very, very, very linear. And I mean it's still really fun. It holds up. I mean, people it's stuck around for a reason. And I mean, I almost want to say that because of games like that, we've gotten the games that are a little bit more refinements of that genre and then advancements of that genre like Elden Ring.
Mhm. Fair enough. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Say It Takes Two. I haven't tried Split Fiction, but I've heard really good things. I
It's
do
a good
think it's
one.
interesting how that is another example of like a small indie studio going back to some of like the core tenets of like what's fun, just like couch co-op multiplayer and making sure that you're like interacting with the other person you're playing with a lot,
Yeah.
and it like ended up breaking like a bunch of records, I think, and like made a ton of money just for
Yeah.
a cool like local co-op game that was very well refined.
Absolutely. Well, I feel like couch co-op got so lost in the sauce. I want to say post 2000. It's been a while, maybe 2000, since like 2011 or 12, that I can think of specifically for like a widely released console and PC game. I don't think there's really been very many couch co-op games that like were really well marketed that people could, because like live became a thing and people realized they could make a lot more money if you didn't have people sharing a console. And so, everybody has a console, you have to play it online. So the return to couch co-op was so needed, I feel like,
Mhm.
in the genre of video games. Cause sometimes, yeah, I mean, you just have like a friend or a partner or a roommate or whatever that you just want to sit. Everyone has a second controller these days. You have to, if you want to be playing as long as most people play video games like me and you do. And so, like, you can have a second person play that game and it's fun to do that. I would love to see more couch co-op games, and I think we will, because like Little Nightmares 3 was couch co-op.
Yeah.
Um we're gonna have Reanimal coming out, which is the original developer of Little Nightmares 1 and 2 that went off and did his own studio. He's doing a couch co-op game called Reanimal that looks like Little Nightmares 3 should have. And
Yeah.
that's all I'll say there.
The one thing I am kind of hopeful for is like I don't know how much of these you've played, but the friend slop genre. I don't know if you it's affectionately
Hey,
referred
explain.
to as that. But it's basically like all of these games that have come out on Steam recently. I guess you don't play as much on Steam, so you're just on console, so you probably
Yeah,
wouldn't. But it's super cheap games, like $5 and under, typically maybe $10 and under, and their
right.
whole core gameplay principle revolves around co-op. So it'll be like 1 to 4 players. You have an
Right.
objective of doing something,
Yeah,
and
okay, like
your Repo,
Repo
yeah, there's
Company.
tons of different games. Lethal Company, some ones I've gotten recently are like Are We There Yet, where you're driving an RV
Yeah,
with a bunch of your friends. Um, and they're all really cool, but I think that that is maybe the one thing missing from some of those games is the ability to just like play them in couch co-op too. Because you get those to play with your friends and like you're playing with them, whatever. But like, what happens when somebody comes over to like hang out? Like our friend Rain just came over to my house the other day and I ran into this problem where like I have a lot of multiplayer games, but
right.
I only have a very select few that you can actually play with 2 people on one
In the
device.
same
So I
room,
was like
yeah, yeah.
sitting here contemplating like, okay, do I go like set up Sammy's computer and download a game and maybe
Do like
buy
a
it a
LAN
second
party,
time
basically,
so that
yeah.
Rain can play? Like I used to do this funny thing with like Xbox Game Pass and Steam where like if you have Game Pass and a game is on Game Pass and you open it on
Right,
Steam, then you can
yeah.
play from 2 computers effectively.
Oh, that's smart,
But
yeah.
also that requires you to have a kind of an excessive amount of like subscriptions and potentially buying a bunch of games to play them with people. So I
Yeah,
do really appreciate that It Takes Two and Split Fiction had their whole friend pass thing where
yeah,
if one person owns the game, you
yeah.
literally can just play it with 2 people. So
Yeah, there's
hopefully there's
another
more
one.
of that.
There should be. There's another one that just came out, which was really under the radar. It was only like $9, and it came out on console and PC at the same time. It's like Murder something. It's Murder something. Anyways, you're like essentially in like a mansion and everybody has flashlights and there's two teams trying to like complete an objective and you can kill the other team.
Mm,
But when
okay.
you buy the game, nobody else has to buy the game. Like anybody can play with you as long as they get the code from you. And I wanna
That's
see
nice.
that.
Yeah.
I wanna see more of that in the world of gaming, because it's gotten to a point, at least this is kind of my view of it, and correct me if you disagree, but my view of it is that AAA has gotten so bloated and just, like, money hungry that they're barely even releasing good games anymore, minus a couple here and there, and everything's just driven towards, like, pay us as much as you possibly can, and then indie studios are trying to make money, so they're sort of following the model of like, no, you have to buy multiple games, but you're getting these few indie studios that are like, fuck that, we don't need to, we can break that mold and like buy our game, other people can play it. Buy our game, you have couch co-op. buy our game, and it's going to be a little bit different than what you're used to. So, really big example of that, Expedition 33. But it's something that you'll enjoy, and it's just going to be a little bit different from what you're used to, but it's got a lot of love put into it. I mean, Arc Raiders has so much love. I mean, you can see it in the way, kind of transitioning over to Arc Raiders here, you can see it in the way that every single sound and action has a sound associated with it. Absolutely love the soundscaping in that game, all of the details as well. You can tell, like, they wanted you to, looking from a distance as well as getting close up to something, actually feel like you're looking at it as if you were there, and within the confines of like what a video game can do, right? But they wanted it to feel like you're actually like
Mhm.
looking at something from a distance and not like giving you sort of smudgy patterns that then like resolve as you get closer.
Yeah. I think the going back kind of to just the general AAA hallucination, if you will,
Yeah,
like of the last few years, it almost like reminds me of like an LLM, like, ChatGPT or whatever, when you like give it a prompt, you'll say something and
right,
it interprets like the signals of like, oh, you're saying this, like I'm just gonna go off on a tangent and make something up. Like
right.
some of these games that have come out recently feel like that. Like they've gotten signals from gamers for like things that are successful in the past. And then they just basically take the like core gameplay loop or the like principle of like how the game works and just make some like weird, like overblown, extravagant, like microtransaction ridden, like either live service that's free or like an $80 game that comes out with a bunch of bugs, and usually they've just gone completely off the rails. They haven't changed the core gameplay, but then like just made something like really over the top to try to get people excited about the
So COD
IP.
7, so literally COD
Yeah,
7.
COD 7. I mean, even going back to like Star Wars Battlefront when
Oh,
EA
sure, yeah.
re-released that. I mean, it's controversial. Some people loved that, but I played a shitload of Battlefront 2 on PlayStation 2. Like as a kid, that game was
Same,
super nostalgic for
same. I
me.
had it on
So I
Xbox 360.
immediately yeah, I immediately bought that game and went to play it, and it was just not the same at all. It was like they'd taken all these modern tropes from Battlefield and like their multiplayer and just like rolled it in with a skin from Star Wars and didn't really change anything, didn't call back to any of like the real game modes that like the Star Wars game had. Like one of my favorites was the Sith versus Jedi mode,
Oh
where it
yeah,
was
those were
basically
amazing.
just Sith versus Jedi fighting.
Yeah.
And like, I don't even think you could get that at launch. Maybe they released it later because I stopped playing pretty quick.
They
But
did, they did,
that
and
game,
it exists now.
good, yeah, because yeah, that game really let me down on the launch. Is exact perfect example of what I was describing.
No, it is, and well,
uh,
it's like yeah, no, it's a very big problem, and they're gonna keep making money off of it, so it's not gonna change. I do love that we're going through like a renaissance in the gaming industry a little bit right now, though, where more indie studios are seeing more success than AAA studios are. Big example, once again, Arc Raiders has more
yeah,
consistent players than COD, Black Ops, or Battlefield on a regular basis
well,
at this point, and this is their second game.
yeah, it all circles back to Arc Raiders at some point. But yeah, I mean that I guess transitions us into the next kind of segment I wanted to talk about, which is just like what we've been playing recently. What have you been enjoying? And obviously, it sounds like both of us have been playing a bunch of Arc Raiders. What is the biggest thing you were like overjoyed by with Arc Raiders? Like was it the soundscaping? Was it like
Right.
the environment design? Is it the PvPvE? Like just the interactions with people? Like what would you say is overall like the thing that really keeps you hooked that you're like, hell yeah, this is breaking ground in some way for me?
Right, right. Well, so for me, that was a journey, because when I first heard about Arc Raiders was like right during the very last alpha test that they did
Mm-hmm.
before they went ahead and started doing the server slam a few months later. And I'd watched a guy named Deef on YouTube do it a lot. And I was like so excited about the fact that PS5 was going to get an extraction shooter that wasn't PvE only. and that
Yeah.
was huge for me because I was like, I love Helldivers 2, but like I love I still in Helldivers 2 love messing with people and like shoot them because I'll be like, oh, that dude twitched, man, he's definitely an android, and then shoot them. But like that,
Yeah,
and
but it's
then
it's different.
absolutely, very much so, very different. Because he just ends up being anyway. That and then just yeah, like the social interactions. The idea that I could go on VoIP or proximity chat and just like make a friend in this world where like we are both struggling. Like this is I would equate the level of like making a friend in Arc Raiders to making a friend while you're hiking by yourself. Like you're out
Yeah.
there, you
Or
may you just you guys are trying to survive the elements, you're trying to do your thing, and you may or may not wanna help each other, and you can just talk about that, and you can bond with a complete stranger you have never met in your entire life that you are talking to for the first time just over that, and I find that to be so incredibly cool and yeah, and groundbreaking, and then
yeah,
then
I
it then
think
that turned into PvP for me after that.
yeah. I think for me, that is kind of the big thing that hooked me into the game is I've always really liked extraction shooters. I bought the Tarkov Edge of Darkness edition when it came
Nice.
out like 8 years ago and
Oh,
played
wow.
a couple of wipes. I recently have kind of stopped playing Tarkov just because of the way the game has progressed. It moved kind of away from what I was hoping it would become
Right.
and just kind of stopped respecting people's time as much. I feel like doesn't
Right, yeah.
really treat the player as well as they should for somebody who's playing a game ultimately. But I
Yeah,
mean, people really like Tarkov for how realistic it is. And I mean, it's one of the best simulation shooters out there for sure. But
right.
anyways, I love Tarkov. I love Rust as well. I've played a lot of hours of Rust. I think I have like over 3,000 hours in Rust at this point.
Wow.
So
Nice.
I love the open world, like VoIP kind of interactions that you get. And that's typically what brings me back to Rust is all the
Right.
random shit you do interacting with people, going out and like negotiating and trying to like come up with a truce or maybe even building a vendetta against people near you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was really, I think, what brought me into Arc Raiders was kind of like the meshing of all of that. It's like
Right.
there's VoIP. They respect your time in Arc Raiders because they have really good crafting systems, really good material systems that actually scale through the tiers. Like you can
Mhm.
craft things back up into a higher tier or recycle them down either way and use them however you see fit, which
Right.
Tarkov, I don't feel like that was as much of an option ever. If it is now, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But yeah,
I
the
don't
Arc
think that it is.
really brought those two things together because the extraction shooter has the element where you can get a kit, come in with a kit, and not necessarily worry as much if you die. Like with Rust, you make your kits in your base. If you go die out there and somebody knows where you live and you run out of gear, you might literally have someone come knocking on your door and blow down your base and blow down your workstations, right?
Oh,
So
shit, okay, and then you have to start
that
completely
is
all
like,
over.
yeah, that is
That's
very
crazy.
intimidating about Rust, and I appreciate that Arc Raiders has moved into the extraction shooter genre and kind of cut that whole loop out. I do think they could add a little bit more as far as like some survival elements. Like I really enjoy the cold snap and like the freezing
Mhm.
element of the game. So I'm interested to see what other environmental modifiers they come out with. I know I've seen teasers of like toxic
I was
swamps and
just gonna
stuff like
say, yeah,
that.
I was just gonna say they might be doing like a toxic swamp sort of thing, which like
Yeah.
being a lover of every Dark Souls game, that hits a very special place in my heart. And what I was gonna
Oh,
say is
seriously.
I was super new to extraction shooters as a whole because all I've ever played is Helldivers. I'm more of a solo horror genre player. That's kind of what I've been playing since like I got back into video games in my like early 20s because I had a really long time where I just didn't play anything. And then I finally got gifted an Xbox One by a buddy, and then I played Witcher 3 and got back into it. But yeah, no, I see for me, I was just coming off of playing all the Resident Evil games that got remade. I played, 7 and 8, and the crafting in that, while you're doing combat was, like, my favorite part of that game, just going around looking for supplies, being so stressed out because you just need a fucking plant in order to make a heal because 'cause you're down to, like so little health, and if something taps you, you're gonna die, and then you have to go back and start this puzzle you've been doing for like 2 hours all over again. And that part of it, that stress, specifically that stress that comes with a survival horror game, where your crafting is involved, that Resident Evil has done historically amazingly. That is what initially made me go, "Oh shit, there's like a game that's coming out that's going to do that, but I have to fight robots, and I'm going to have other people that may or may not want to kill me." That's amazing. I would
Yeah.
love to be that stressed out every single time I play that game.
Yeah, I think that's one of the cool things about the extraction shooter game is the element of other players can kind of turn it into a horror game
Very
almost.
much so,
Like
yeah.
there are moments, especially when you're solo and you have nobody else to count on, where you hear
Mhm.
noises in any one of those games, Tarkov, whatever you name it. And you're crouching, you're sitting there just like ears perked up, like not making any noise. And suddenly it has become a horror game of like, where is
Mhm.
the person who is trying to kill me and trying to find
Mhm.
me right now?
That's why having good headphones is
There's
important.
it's cool.
Spatial
Yeah,
awareness.
yeah. Oh man. It's crazy how people play without headphones or with music playing just to like distract themselves. But yeah, you can't do it. It's ridiculous.
I can't I get I see I would hate that. I would hate that because then I wouldn't have that moment where you literally just found a blueprint you've been looking for like ages, and for some reason it happened while you're on a free loadout, so you have no stash pocket at all. You can't put anything in your butt, and so you're just sitting there like, all right, I'm gonna have to take this very slowly now. And then you crouch and you're like, okay, where's the closest extract? Fuck, it's all the way across the map. Okay, how can I get there? And what is the route that I can take that there's not gonna be a lot of people on? And then you're just sitting there looking over your shoulder the entire however many meters to the extract.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing that I find really interesting about it is like there's just such a dynamic range of experience of players. Like, some
Right.
people have a terrible time and they're down bad. Some people are just rich as fuck. They aren't intimidated by the game at all. They go in guns blazing and just do whatever they want. And, it creates a really interesting dynamic. I do appreciate that, like, there's some structure. You're not just like willy nilly like Rust where anybody can blow anything up, but
Right.
it gives you a really good gameplay loop of like, you get some pixels that look shiny and have purple or blue color and they make you happy. And
Get that
then you try
dopamine.
to run out and hopefully you fight some people and fight some AI and have an enjoyable experience. So they've done a
Yeah.
good job of that.
They
They
absolutely
really
have.
balance it well for sure.
They
I
absolutely
think
have.
the yeah, I think the only issue I've really had was like Christmas Eve. There were some server problems, and I
Yeah.
was like, well, you can't really complain there. Everybody's off. Something happened. It is what it is.
Yeah, that sucked.
And
Yeah, that
it's
sucked.
been a bit of like desync issues with the game, but
Yeah.
all in all, I mean, having played, oh God, what is it? The Dark Raiders. Having played 238 hours of the game.
Yeah.
I could say I think I like it, probably. It looks pretty good, 238.4 right there.
Nice. I think I'm sitting at a
Yeah.
plus the server slam, probably about 300.
Nice, yeah.
Um, yeah, just I would say also, I don't know if I'm the first one to notice this or not, but Celeste will actually tell you to stop playing the game if you've been on longer than a couple of hours. She'll be like,
Really?
"Hey, you can go take a rest, right? You can just go relax inside of your bunk or like do other
That's
things."
hilarious.
Like she'll actually actively start telling you to take a break, which I think is really funny. And then the second thing is like, yeah, they do have server issues occasionally. It's their second game,
Mhm.
and they are like an online game-based company because the other game, The Finals, is also an online game, which I still have yet to play. I should play it though because I played that other game that the people who Riot Games made that was kind of very similar to The Finals, and I liked that. I didn't play a ton of it, but I liked it. And they're really on top of it. If you stay on the Discord, like they'll notice it relatively immediately as long as there's people in the office, and they'll hop on it pretty quickly. So that's been a really nice
Yeah.
and comforting to know that like they care about the game. They like care that people are having issues. They'll hop on them really quickly. I think this game is gonna grow a lot over the next, because they said they wanna run it for, like, 10 years, so I think it's gonna grow and change a lot over the next just year. I mean, it's only been out for 2 months, right? And so, like,
Yeah, it's
it's
crazy.
gonna change. I know, it's gonna change in a lot of ways. I just hope they don't lose that core value of, like, we respect that people have jobs, and we respect
Mhm,
that people
mhm.
don't have time to, like, do things constantly, kinda like what Tarkov doesn't, where they just expect you to fully use that game as your career.
Yeah, that's one thing I definitely appreciate about the game is just the level of, like, you can kinda take it or leave it as you will. The wipe system is really nice in that you don't have to do it unless you want to, and if you do, you get a benefit, but there's not really, like, a massive downside to not if you wanna keep all your blueprints and stay leveled up, so I don't know. One thing I was super surprised by with the
Right,
game was
right.
actually the sound design. I
Yeah.
played one of the server slams and going in, I didn't have like super high hopes for it. I mean, I've played Rust, which is okay. They have really good like spatial 360 audio, but their vertical audio is terrible.
Oh, okay.
I would say Arc Raiders does it a bit better with their vertical audio because they do something very similar to Tarkov in that there's a lot of textures on
Mhm,
the ground and sounds for each texture. So like when you know the map, you know whether someone's above or below you based off of the sound you're hearing, even though
mhm.
you might not necessarily know from the way the sound is like projecting to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, the sound design I think was probably the biggest thing in the game that surprised me was it is so immersive and, like, I don't know if you've watched any of the making of videos. There's actually, like, a
Mhm,
documentary where they did, like,
mhm.
the making of art. And that guy, the composer, whatever you wanna call him, who made it all the sounds, I mean, he's a genius. It's crazy to think, like, the soda can, like, rolling it in the wind, you hear that in the game, and he
I know,
physically did that.
yeah, you physically hear, like, the wind going through, like, some tall grass as you're walking through it.
Mhm.
And as somebody who, like, works in sound just as a hobby for podcasting, it's just such a breath of fresh air to have a game where, like, there's someone genuinely cared about making it so immersive that you don't wanna have a podcast on in the background while you're listening or you're playing it. I know some people do, and that's totally fine. Or you don't wanna, like, listen to music or anything while you're playing it, kinda like I do with Helldivers, because like, Helldivers, I have a specific soundtrack that I play that game to. But with Arc Raiders, I never wanna listen to music. I never wanna have anything on in the background. I have my headphones turned up relatively high, and I'm just constantly like, okay, there's a raider cache right there. Or like I
Mhm.
know there's a raider cache when I'm walking by and I can hear what direction it's into, which is just messes with my brain sometimes because I'm like, okay, it should be over here to the left. And it always is whenever I do it. And I'll play with friends sometimes that maybe just don't have great headphones or don't have great their volume turned up super high and they're like, how the hell do you know where that is? I was like, oh dude, it's coming from the left because when I turn to the right, it's not as prevalent. And
Mhm.
I think the verticality as well as the horizontal audio inside of that game is just so incredibly, almost obsessively, like you can feel it in the game, obsessively thought out.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I have sat in a corner in that game looking at actually nothing, looking at walls, just
Right.
crouched and listening. And, just from listening, you can get like a massive picture of what's going on in the room next to you. It's crazy. You hear a wasp screech and
Mhm,
aggro and start
mhm,
to spool up like it's going to shoot at somebody. You hear the flare pop because
mhm,
the wasp downed a guy.
mhm,
You hear grenades blow up and another raider goes down. Two out of the three in the team are down in there, and it's your time to
mhm,
push in. And
mhm.
I was looking at a wall.
Yeah. No, literally, yeah,
It's
dude,
crazy.
that needs to be a sticker, the things I gleaned from staring at a wall in Arc Raiders.
It
But no,
blows me
like,
away. Yeah,
actually,
and
you
that's
can
one that
sit
I
in
was
a
blown
corner.
away by.
Yeah, you can sit in a corner and like one of my favorite things to do when I'm just stressed out and I just need a second is to go find like the most obscure corner around a pretty
Mhm.
well-traveled area that I can go possibly hide in. And then I just sit there and I just chill and I listen. stare at
Yeah.
the fucking wall, as you said, like in a dark corner. And then I just hear somebody coming out of the corner, and I'm like, all right, three, two, trigger nades start shooting.
Yeah. Yeah, you know where the door is near you, you hear them open the door, and then
I
you
don't even
peek
have to
the
look
corner and
half the
you're
time.
like, "Boom, here I am." Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. So, yeah, that's one thing I was really surprised by with the game for sure. Is there anything else that, like, really surprised you, especially coming from not playing extraction shooters very much?
I would say what surprised me was just how nice everybody was. Cause I remember when the server slam started, I had taken off that 2 day, that like 3 days of work just to play. And I woke up right when the server slam came out in Colorado and got on like right as it started. And I went in and my very first game, I met this dude and he was just like, "Yeah, it's my first time playing." I was like, "Oh yeah, me too. Like, what do you want to do?" And he was like, "I don't know. Let's just go like fuck around and see what's going on." We ran into an arc. We saw some other players. They didn't really know what was going on. Some of them didn't have mics. I ended up with a crew of like 30 people. I think I had the whole lobby just running around with each other, just mowing down every single arc that we saw. And we all extracted together. It was awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And, I mean, because of all of the data that they're leveraging, I'm sure they're using a bunch of crazy data analytics from the matches. I mean, we've seen the whole aggression-based matchmaking system,
Mhm.
like, in play. I have experienced it firsthand,
Oh yeah.
when I
Oh
play with
yeah.
squads, I play with a lot of people who shoot on sight and, we just get into fights left and
Look
right
at you
and have
sideways
fun
for a
doing
kick.
that. Hey, I mean, not just you, everybody. In squads, it is typically that. I haven't tried specifically in a squad, like, going in and not shooting for a while. I kinda wanna do that. We'll have to try it at some point.
I'd be down.
But I know from other people's experience and from my own, like, when you go to solo, if you don't shoot on sight for a couple of matches even, they start to match you with much more friendly people.
No,
And
yeah, and you're
I
running around
think
and
that
people are
that
like waving
is
at you.
yeah, I think that's an awesome step that Embark took to, like, find the data in the matches that shows you, like, okay, if somebody doesn't shoot within 30 seconds of seeing another player, like, they're probably a little more friendly. Whatever the metric they came up with
Right,
is,
right. I'd love to look
they've
at the hard
figured it
numbers
out.
there. I'd love to look at the hard numbers there and see what it is. Is it like, you didn't shoot at somebody and then someone shot at you, so you shot back, so you still count as friendly? Like what the if then sort of statements
I
are
know.
going with
It
like the
could be
programming
so
language?
deep, it could be so simple as,
Yeah.
like, your kill to death ratio, if you've died more than you've killed people, it just puts you in a friendly match. Who knows? That's one thing I'm constantly blown away by, is, like, leaving a raid. You see everything you did in the raid. It shows you that path at the end.
Mhm.
You can see every interaction, and I would love to know, like, whose job it is to analyze that data and, like, serve up the information to the Embark team, like, "Here, like, this is what people are doing, and we've gotta fix this," or "We've gotta, like, figure out how to get people doing this more because they love this," like
Mhm.
and, that's one thing I think that also really surprised me about this game is more than many high level shooter games I've played, they really pay attention to the data and, like, the way that players do things and
Mhm.
change things very quickly. I mean,
Mhm.
security breaches were getting, like, just cheesed, like, everyone rushed to security breach early on in the wipe, and they were too good, and they immediately patched them within, like, a week of hearing about it. I think they patched it. There's, a ton of stuff like that. I think the current problem is trigger nades, like you were saying when you're talking about your fight. Right now, trigger nades are doing too much damage. They activate too fast. There's no way to react to them as the person getting hit by them. So I'm sure in the next week there's going to be a patch. And it's funny, like in all of the chats I'm in, all of my friends are like, "Oh, you gotta use them now. Enjoy them while you can. Like they're gonna be gone soon. Embark's gonna fix this because we're all having too much fun."
Well, yeah,
And
because people are just messing around with people. I mean, I love trigger nades. I absolutely adore trigger nades. I love just throwing them and setting them off on somebody. But, like, I will say they could definitely like use a little tiny bit of a debuff because like I mean you can just team wipe if you're good with them and you can actually like
Mhm.
Kobe them at somebody. I will say that is one problem I do have with our creators is every time there's too much of a good thing, they just patch it and kind of like almost overcorrect a little bit. I think they tend to overcorrect more than like and I'm not saying this isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's more of a complaint. Cause to me, what I've noticed is at first I was pissed because they were just overcorrecting so much. And then I
Mhm.
realized they were overcorrecting because they were like, now we can dial it in. Because if you've noticed, since they moved around where the breaches are on maps where they're like randomly spawning, breaches have gotten a lot better than they were after they were initially patched. You find better stuff in them now.
Yeah, for sure. It seems like, yeah, they're finding that balance and, iterating on it, which is really cool. I mean, it's good to see that type of stuff too. I would say, yeah, one other thought I had as far as like a question for us to talk about was like
Right.
what was better than you expected?
Okay.
And that we already kind of touched on it. It's just the player interactions. Like I
Yeah.
think people in general have been so scarred by like the games not respecting their time, like Tarkov
Yeah.
in the past, where
Absolutely.
now this game arc where there is actually a really challenging common enemy. There's lore that kind of ties everybody together that says we're all working together for Speranza.
Hmm.
It creates an interesting dynamic where it's like, yes, on the surface, there are no rules. It does not matter. You can shoot somebody in the back if you want to. You know, only the person who hears it in the next building has the ability to judge you for that. and
There was
it's
actually
crazy how good people have been in the game overall.
I know what one of the things I wanted to point out there is the two things really. So I have an observation and then a story. So the observation
Mhm.
for me is like initially there were two kinds of people playing Arc Raiders. There were people who played Tarkov who came in and were just like, I know what the mission is. I have to kill people and take their loot. And then there was everybody else who came in and were just like, oh, it's like a nice way. We're like trying to fuck with the arc. We're going to mess up the arc. This is going to be a super good time. And we're just going to help each other. And then those people, I watched over 2 months as those people got so fucking jaded and traumatized because they were
Yeah.
nice. And then somebody would be nice to them back and then they get shot. And now all of them shoot on sight until like because you'll have it now. My typical interaction a month and a half ago was you see somebody, they're friendly, they go, oh hey man, what's going on? In solos, that's still the case sometimes. But in duos or trios, they would go, oh hey man, what's going on? How you doing? Oh hey man, what's going on? How are you? And you just move on. Now the typical interaction in duos and trios is you get shot and you go, hey man, I'm friendly. And they go, oh shit, cool, you scared me, my bad. And then they walk by you, but that is the
Yeah.
very normal interaction now. And then the story that I had was I was in Stella Montes the other day on a night raid in a solo, and I popped in right above the archives, right into like the entrance to lobby where the security bridge is. And I walked through that door and I heard a pop go off on somebody and a shield break. And I was like, well, I have a Pharaoh and his shield just broke and he's definitely on fire. I just slid in there and headshot him. He went down and he was just sitting there down on VoIP, like, I can't do this anymore, man. I'm so tired of it. I'm just so traumatized from this. I knocked him and another dude ran in and he was like, yo, was that guy okay? And I was like, nah, it sounded like he was having a really bad time. And he was like, oh shit, did you kill him? I was like, yeah. He was like, cool, you want to go kill more people? It's like, fuck the bet, let's do
Oh my
it.
god. Yeah. See, like having played so much Rust, I'm just like scarred from Rust. Like I came into this game with the like, yeah, Tarkov kind of Rust player mindset of like I cannot trust a single other person on this map. Like even if they are telling me in the most believable way something that I want, they're going to give me something I want or do something for like I will not believe them at all like
Yeah.
until I fucking like run away. Like I'm like,
Right,
"No,
right.
I'm good, dude. You do your thing. We're cool. I'm going to walk off." Like and I still can't get out of that mindset. I will be a little more friendly for sure in solo lobbies, but
Right.
If somebody is too close to me and they follow me around, start looting stuff near me, I'm definitely going to consider shooting them. And I have recently. I mean, yeah, a story I have recently was like this dude was like following me around and he kept like third person peeking corners as I was looting boxes. So I would like hear him like sneaking behind me and just standing like he wasn't looting, just like watching.
He was
So
just watching
of
you
course,
loot?
yeah, I
That's
had
so
I had to
weird.
like shoot it. Shot like a warning shot at him, tapped him once. I was like, back off, man. And he just, fully engaged at that point and was like, all right, fuck it, we're going.
Alright.
And he had put himself in a really bad position backing up from me after I fired my warning shot. And then he just got
Okay.
pinched by another solo player between me, like me and this other player. He died. The other player and I, we like shot at each other a couple times and we just kind of like turned off and like left the fight. And I mean, that's what you get, man. Like, you give people space and you don't rush them, a lot of times the fight will just kind of peter out and like you
Yeah,
go and do your own
absolutely.
thing because everybody's like, you know what, I'm not trying to like
No, they're just
engage,
scared.
and
Yeah, they're just
I've got my
scared. They're not like
objective.
they're not doing what
So
me and you do sometimes where we're like, "I wanna kill people. I'm just here to fight
yeah.
people."
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of that too. So that is one of the cool things about the matchmaking is you can kind of bounce around between that.
Oh, yeah.
I think the community really wants there to be a, barrier there for that,
Oh,
but I
that's
think
fully just stops people, yeah.
yeah, I think the way it is now is actually the best where
I
like
agree.
if you're careful and you aren't aggressive, you will typically be in a slightly safer environment.
Yeah.
But if you want to have like a more aggressive environment, it'll just start putting you there. It's like, the kind of like skill based matchmaking type thing or whatever you
Yeah,
want to
you get to
call it.
choose.
The aggression based matchmaking, I think, makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, it's cool. I don't think that the game would benefit from creating a PvE barrier where it's like, this is a PvE lobby because then you don't get those moments of like what we've been talking about for the last half an hour. Like,
Exactly.
you're looking at a wall, listening to an orchestra of like battle happen in front of you,
Mhm.
and suddenly the game's become a horror game, and you're actually like, you know, in an adrenaline state, just like I need to escape. Oh my god, and like haven't really encountered something like that in a game recently. There's not a lot of games that inspire that. Like Rust,
No, that's not
sometimes
like a
it'll get
horror
like that
game.
for me, but yeah,
That's
this
not just
this game
outright a
definitely
horror
has
game.
some
Yeah,
unique
totally.
stuff. And I think that like if it lost that for the PvE people, it wouldn't be as fun. And for PvP people, you wouldn't have as much variety in the players you interact with because that definitely is cool to like you said, maybe like fire a warning shot, start a fight and be like, are we chill? Like and
And we can
then,
be chill. I made friends with
establish
some
like we
people
can
for
be
that.
chill, we don't
Yeah,
have to kill each
exactly.
other.
Well, that dude okay, so here's a good story about that. That dude, Mr. Moose, who we play with sometimes,
Hmm.
he comes in and out sometimes. I he met my friend Puddin' Taters, who's a friend of mine IRL, because of PvP. My friend Puddin' Taters took a shot at him with a Pharaoh and then, like, realized he was with a team and decided to peace, and came around a corner and saw him again, and the dude was like, "Oh my god, this fucking asshole just shot me." And he was like, "Oh, yeah, that was me." It's like, "Oh, shit. Alright, well, do you wanna just, like, go do stuff together?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure." And so they became fr and now I play with him constantly because of that. So, like,
Yeah.
I mean, I think PvP does have its merits. If we were to get a PvE lobby, like, specifically an event that happens kinda like Matriarch or Queen or whatever, Harvester, that is a PvE lobby, it would absolutely need to be Arc or cranked up to 100. So, like,
Yeah. A
more
thousand,
Arc than
dude.
there
Like
are Matriarch. More Arc than there are than there are on a Matriarch map. There needs to be a Baron on that map, and there needs to be some sort of unlocking gate event happening at the same time on that map. Like, I need utter
yeah.
war and chaos to happen, and that would be an acceptable PvE because you can still fuck people over by getting loot. I'm not saying I like play this game to fuck people over. More what I'm saying is like it still has that element of like I need to watch my ass because I want to go get this loot before somebody else does.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know that the game would benefit from any of that. I could see
I
a
disagree. I
world
do
where
too.
like the large like AI have like a quote unquote raid situation like World of Warcraft where it is like 10, 20 people all going in together to fight it.
Yeah.
And I mean that's how the game started originally. But
Mm.
we'll see if they come up with some way to balance that so that it is more entertaining. Because
A dungeon crawl. That would be
yeah, that
fucking
type of
cool.
stuff, it's like it's awesome, but also it's been done by, like, Destiny and a lot of games,
Helldivers,
so
yeah.
they'd have to do it very unique, and,
Agreed.
I mean,
Well, if
keeping
we
it
could
PvP/PvE kind of gives it that edge for sure, you know? So, I hope they do continue to release more large AI events that do kind of
I agree.
drive communities to work together just for fun, but,
Oh, man,
I
Harvester
don't know
drove
that
people to be
necessarily there
ratty as
needs to
fuck.
I don't know that there necessarily needs to be, like, a hard rule about that type of stuff.
I agree with that.
It's
I
that
agree with
feels
that.
weird to me because
I agree with that. I do like the idea of, like, warring factions because like, we do kinda talk about that in the lore, getting into the lore of Arc Raiders a little bit, like, you'll have, like, these people who, like, think they run the tunnels, and they charge people from Speranza every time they utilize their tunnels to go down certain routes, like, that's a mission you have to do, is you have to go sabotage one of their drop locations for,
Mhm.
Tianli. Celeste sends you to, like, go check on something about, like, people poisoning our water and stuff because of another faction of people. So I love the idea of like expanding the excuse me, sort of baseline of where people come from. So it's not just Speranza. Maybe you have another place. It's like another faction of people that exist underground. And then having like a dungeon crawler sort of situation, which is underground, sort of like Stella Montis, but it's very much a dungeon of like arc. Maybe you could even have like human androidy sort of arcs, like the ones you see that you walk by and they like go off and start talking, and then have two separate teams that are two separate factions. So you can't attack the people on your team, but you can go and join the other side, or you can shoot people on the other side. So there's options there, and it creates that social same sort of immersion that they've been looking for, where like you can betray your team. You just have to like actively go be with the other team. You can't just load in and then shoot everybody on your team and take their loadouts.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I that is one thing I think that kinda ties back to some solo thoughts I've had is, like, I think it would be cool if there was a more active party system in the game where, like,
Right.
you could potentially maybe not join a full party with people in a solo, but, like, you know, have them appear on your UI or something, and, I think that could be really cool in squads too. I mean, being able to, like, leave your squad if you, like, filled in and the guys are being dumb and just, like, go off on your own and not have them be able to, like, see you anymore
I
is an
like that.
interesting
I
premise,
I
but
like the idea of that because something that bothers me a lot with I think DayZ has this. There's another game that has this where like if you go in solo, you can join up with a party, but then you can't leave that party again. Like you guys are just not able to kill each other now. I love the
mm,
idea of like
mhm,
you could make a party with a bunch of people in solos. Like you could theoretically have a party of like three. All of a sudden, you can see their icon where they are. You can talk in party chat and not on VoIP. All of that stuff. But then you can also just leave if you want to. So, like for example, if you take a shot at them and it's not a warning shot, like you take multiple shots at them, you no longer have that party connection. Or you can just choose to
yeah,
opt out of
something
it completely. Something like that. I think that would be maybe too many controls to juggle while you're trying to play a solo match, but the way they've
I
juggled
know. See,
the use of
that
stuff on
idea
keyboard
spawns
versus
from yeah, that idea spawns from me being a PC player, so I'm, like, so used to having all the buttons in the world, but I was
right,
just
right.
thinking that, I was like, "Yeah, it'd be really hard to, like, have good controls for that as a on a controller just to even be able to interact with more things in that way." Like,
They've done a
walk up to a
pretty
player
good
and pull it
job.
up.
They've done a pretty good job with the control porting for, like, versus keyboard. Like, I don't feel like I work any less than a keyboard and a mouse. The only difference is, like, the aiming granularity,
Mhm.
and then but, like, console players get aim assist. I turn mine off, but like, they get aim assist. You guys just have a mouse. So like there is a bit of a balance there. I think they've done a really good job with it. I heard Tarkov is coming out for console and like, dude, you think you're
Yeah.
gonna play that on a controller?
Yeah, it blows me away. I mean, that as a PC player, that's one of the big things that I actually hate the most about Tarkov is literally the menu system, the menu navigation, and, like, the organization of the game. It was really bad early on, such that I just ended up, like, not playing a lot. I've heard they did make a lot of things better, but
Yeah.
ultimately, goes back to the kind of thing I was saying earlier, which is, like, a lot of times it feels like Tarkov does not respect your time in that they want you
Right.
to spend more time in the game organizing, doing these things in the menu, whereas
Than you
like
do
our
actually playing the
creators,
fucking game.
yeah, it feels like they really want you to be in the raids as much as possible, which like I do like that about it. You know,
I
it's
do
like if you
too.
don't want a kit, you free kit and it'll get you something decent. And you know, a lot of people like to harp on the free kits and say they're overpowered and whatnot, but ultimately they're really just bare fucking bones. I mean, it gets you a gun, it gets you one shield recharger typically, and a couple of bandages, and like
Too.
1 to 2 utility items. Yeah. So, you know, you have to actively go loot and like build that kit up to win a
Yeah.
fight well with that kit. Like if you
Yeah.
charge somebody quickly, you might be able to win by luck, or if you hit a lucky like grenade that you know you catch somebody who's just spawning. But you know, a lot of people like to complain that the free kit is overpowered, but really it's just maybe you were in a bad position and the person with the free kit got really lucky, and
That's
that does
usually what
happen.
it is luck. I mean, like, a lot of the time well, and it's play style as well, right? Like, some people are really careful, and some people just run into fucking rooms without paying attention to where the hell they're going, and then they go,
Hmm.
"Why'd you shoot me?" And you're like, "Dude, you just ran into the room and started looting stuff. What'd you think was gonna happen?"
Yeah, like I was already in here looting.
I was in here looting. You
Not
came out
ready
of
for that shit.
nowhere. You made a ton of noise. Like, I'm gonna shoot you. That I have this amazing story. I was in the staff room on Salamantis on a solo round, and I had happened to come in with a jolt mine, and I unlocked the door from the hallway that comes from the cafeteria. And so I put a jolt mine right next to that door and I just started going about my loot. And I just turned and I heard the jolt mine go off. The person didn't say fucking anything. So I just lit them up. And then finally, after they were down, they were like, "Oh man, I was just trying to come in and do some looting." I was like, "Dude, you didn't say anything. You just fucking
And
stood in
you
the
can
doorway all
hear those
creepy."
traps. Like if
Yeah,
you didn't just like run in blind without paying attention, you would have heard
you
that
would have heard
trap
it. You just got to
buzzing
be
and
careful.
you could have taken it slow and said, "Hey in there, can
Yeah,
we be
exactly. "Hey, I'm
friendly?" You
thinking
know,
about
like
coming in. Can we be friendly?" Even if you weren't planning on being friendly, which, happens. Yeah, you still say something and then like, okay, you might get the person to get rid of the mine, or they might lie to you and say, "There's no mine there. I don't know what you're talking about." It's a 50-50 shot there. It depends, right? But like, yeah, no, I mean, being careful is like a lot of the folks that are complaining about the PvP, I just think they don't want to learn to be careful.
yeah, that's one thing I find myself wishing for it when I'm in a match and I'm downed, but it's one thing I actually kind of appreciate about Embark's decision on revives for people who are not on your team. Like
Yeah,
the fact that you cannot just revive somebody willy-nilly, I think is actually kind of a smart move for the
I agree.
game because it forces you to think a little more consciously about that. And if you don't, you're going to end up down. And even if the person you run into is nice, you know, they likely can't save you unless they have a defib.
Yeah,
And
unless they decide to like actually be a decent person, which there are factions of people I've seen on Discord and in Reddit that like they just go in with defibs to help down players.
yeah, for sure. And I mean, yeah, that's the cool thing about the environment of the game is it leaves it open to that type of interpretation. I don't think that like you should just be able to like down somebody, check their loot, and then pick them back up like Rust, because that
Oh, you can
it
do
does
that?
create a
That's
bit of a
crazy.
weird dynamic, yeah, where like people who are overpowered just like kill everybody, take everything good, and then like leave them alive to do whatever they want to do. And like as much
Yeah.
as that would be nice to get picked up by somebody who takes your loot and then leave, like, you know, Embark wants you to go back and have a gun. They don't want you to be down that bad. Like, they're like, go take a free kit if you died and just
Yeah,
go
no,
back in
exactly.
again.
Unless you have a
So,
looting 3 and you're crawling for your fucking life, which does shit. I was playing with my buddy Puddin' Taters the other day, and we were in a duo, and I had a looting 3 on the healing one. And I like we were right above the lobby extract. So we were at lobby and we were right above the lobby extract. And this team just rushed him out of nowhere. Like me and him were looking at some stuff in a corner. We were pretty hidden, and this team just rushed us. and I had no time to react. I was like halfway across the map from him, and I heard him go down. So I started getting shot at. I jumped into that middle part that puts you on the warehouse crates, right where the train is.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, I got downed, and I crawled down the train tunnel trying to find a way up to the train so I could just get out and just start
Man,
over.
yeah.
And these two dudes roll up out of nowhere and they were like, "Hey man, are you okay?" And I get on VoIP, kind of like I did last night when I got down, and I was like, "Yeah, man, I just got down by these guys who came and rushed us out of nowhere. If you want to down me, I don't have a ton of stuff, but I have some cool things." And they were like, "No, man, we got you." And they rolled up, defibbed me, and then left me ammo for my gun, and then just left.
It's always nice when you get those kind moments.
That's what I play that game for, is it really is the social, like, the everything about that game is fun. And, like, once you start getting bored of the
Mhm.
loop of just going in, collecting stuff, and leaving, and then, making stuff, like, there are a million different things you can do to make that game infinitely entertaining, just depending on how creative you are with it. But the thing I love the most is the things that you just don't expect to happen when you're playing. Like, you roll up and someone's singing a grunge song from the early 2000s, and you start singing
Yeah.
along with them, and then you guys find each other, and it ends in a firefight.
Or you hear a Minecraft villager off in the distance and you end up trading with him. I saw a really funny video from One Peg recently. He's a Tarkov creator.
Oh, okay.
And he went out and he partnered with some voice changer software to make the video. They sponsored him. And he literally was just walking around with in VoIP as like the Minecraft villager going, "Hurrah, hurrah, trade." And then he would like throw items down on the ground and try to trade people. Like, definitely go watch the video if you haven't seen it. It's so
That's
goofy.
hilarious. I'm gonna have to go watch that.
And yeah, I mean, like you said, there's people who are coming in with defib, like the open-ended nature of the game right now, I think gives you the, playground to do whatever you want, which I appreciate. I think that it would be less fun if they did put the PvE guardrails up and like let all of the people who want to be revived or want to revive players, like they would just go to their own PvE lobbies instead. And
Yeah.
that the game would suffer for that as much
I
as
fully
people
agree
want to
with that.
complain about it.
Well, what you'd end up having happen is you'd have lobbies of just sweaty ass PvP people that are just in there to play PvP, don't care about building, don't care about making stuff, just care about having bobcats. And then lobbies of all of the nice people just hanging out and doing stuff. And I agree, the game would suffer because then you just have people that want to do both, that are trying to do both, but all these people are stuck in the PvE lobby constantly. And like, I don't know.
Mm.
A lot of these people say they want PvE, but as soon as they get it, they're gonna get bored so fast.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason they say that they went that way because the playtesting wasn't fulfilling. They put a lot of hours into that at the studio, I'm sure. So it surprises me that people are so argumentative about it. It's just like enjoy the game.
Yeah. Well, it's people that are oh, good. Sorry.
You're good. I just think it's really, really funny that it's created such like division in the community when you also see the sweet parts like where groups of people actually just they're like, all right, well, they're not going to make a PvE lobby. I'm going to be actively more friendly and just go
Yeah.
make the world a better place, right?
Exactly. Well, and that's
Like,
that's like that's more akin to real life, where like you can't just suddenly turn on a PvE where people are just nice. Like I like the fact that they make it an active choice, and it makes it more immersive in that way. Actually, someone I was playing with last night was saying like it's so strange to me that we're in this far future where people are going to the surface to get resources to help the people down below survive while they're trying to reclaim the surface from these AI robots, and all people do is go up there and kill each other.
have you seen what they're doing right now?
Yeah, exactly. And so
Everywhere
like
in real life.
yeah,
Like, come on.
that was my response to that, is like, yeah, I mean, why would I let you live when I can take all the glory for the thing that you found and go down there, make more money, and be way more comfortable? And that's definitely the mentality of like if you had a real life arc raiders, that is what would happen. You'd have people going up there just to roll other teams. I mean, there's a whole mission that you do. It's one of the very first ones where you go get one of the there's a broadcaster that somebody hijacked that they used to warn people of Ark coming, that some raiders had
Mhm.
hijacked to lure other raiders over to it so they could roll them. And
Yeah,
so
and it
like,
was like an
they
EMP.
and so they
That's what you're
built it
talking
as a
about.
jolt mine basically. And so they built it into the world that like this is something that happens. And so to take that away, unless you have some sort of temporary event where it's like we all need to band together to fight like these three barons on the surface at the same time, I just don't see the use for it. I think it would be
Yeah, or
silly
protect
and take away
Speranza.
or protect
Ooh,
Speranza. That would be sick
ooh,
if we had something
ooh.
like along the lines of what they're doing with Helldivers 2, where like everything's getting closer to Super Earth. Like something along those lines where like, yeah, we suddenly all have to band together to protect Speranza. And if we lose it, you lose your workbenches. Everyone is going to lose their workbenches.
Mhm. We gotta go somewhere
That
new. That yeah, that'd be cool. That would
that would be cool.
definitely inspire the PvP people to play together a bit more. That's for sure.
I think so.
Even
I
if
think
you
so.
could still kill people, in
Well,
those
that's the thing. I
lobbies,
think I
that'd be
think it would be great
crazy.
if they kept it so you could still kill people, but sheerly just because we're gonna lose Speranza, the traders you buy from, they're not gonna exist
Mhm.
anymore. They're gonna be all spread out and you might have to go find them. Your workbenches, gone. Scrappy, gone.
Mhm. Crazy.
That would be
Interesting way to go.
wild.
We've already touched on a few of them, but, do you have, like, a favorite moment you can think of from the last week in the game? I'll start with mine. I already have one teed up that I
Go ahead.
thought of,
Go ahead.
and it was just this really funny moment kinda going back to the social dynamics we were talking about earlier. Like, I was in an area, I walked down a hall, I saw this guy first, and I was like, "Hey, man, like, we can be chill, like, we don't have to fight." And as soon as I said something and alerted him to my presence, he immediately tries to shoot me.
Right.
And he had the drop on me in that sense. I think he tagged me first, ended up basically like getting me super low. I hit him a few times and then I he ended up hunting me. And a shredder came up right at that moment and just like ran in front of me and blew up on him. And it was just this like
My gosh,
perfect
no.
analogy of the
That's
game
so
of
funny.
like you can try and be friendly and like you might get shit on, but at the same time you might also watch that same person who was like an asshole to you just get their shit rocked even though they thought they had won the fight, like whether
Mhm.
it be an arc or a third party. There's just so many funny moments like that, and that one was so great because I just like sat there next to him and I was like, yeah man, this is great, isn't it? We could have just walked through and not aggro the shredder, and here we are.
And here we are, and you're dead. Did you go down
Yeah,
too?
we're both. Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, we were both down.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, so
we
you're
were
just
both.
like, "Hey,
So we were
we
just
could have
sitting
had
there
a
looking
friendly
at each other,
interaction."
like, "What have we done?" And it was
No,
so
exactly.
funny.
What monsters have we become? And that's the
Like
thing,
I,
you do have those moments where you look at
yeah,
yourself and you're like, "If I just hadn't shot, honestly, that whole thing could have just not been a problem, and we would have
mhm,
gone on with our days and maybe seen each other and fought in a much safer place later." But it had to be this moment.
yeah, yeah. It was so silly, such a great moment for the game. I mean, it's just like a perfect example of like the social dynamics, the craziness of the AI, the shredder keyed into our audio, even though it was like not super close to us, but it was close enough that like I was being cautious and this guy was just not.
That yeah, that guy sounded like he was just ready to
I
kill
was
whoever he
I
saw.
was just like, I'm not trying to shoot right now, but I see you. Do you not want to fight? And lo and
My rule
behold,
of
we
thumb
both
is
got
if they
screwed.
my rule of thumb is if they don't respond on comms, like I don't care what their emote is. If they don't respond on comms, I shoot them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people who ascribe to that mindset. I don't know. I mean, some people just don't have mics or their mic sucks or you got to be quiet. So I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, but usually I
It
will
bites you in the ass.
establish my presence from further away. And
Yeah,
if they don't
there you go.
respond or if they're suspicious and they get close, that it's on.
Yeah, exactly. My favorite moment, this happened like this wasn't recently, this was like a few weeks ago. So I was in Buried doing a quest with a no, with a paid loadout. And I came around, you know that corner right behind Grandiosa Apartments where the like that huge lake is, where the
um.
flooded like solar panels
Oh
are?
yeah. Yep. Mhm.
Yeah, so I was coming around that corner and I went around the side of it, and in the side of on the other side of those buildings, there's like this big ass courtyard, and there's like a little concrete wall that sticks out on the right side of it, and then a few buildings that look out from the other side. And so I was coming around that side, to where that wall is adjacent to it, and I saw a Rocketeer. I was like, fuck. And so I run behind that wall and I'm just chilling there as the Rocketeer does actually aggro on me and starts shooting at me. And I'm just sitting there. It can't get a good angle on me. And so I'm just sitting there waiting and I get shot. And then I get shot again. I was like, who the fuck? Where is that coming from? And then I look up and I see there's a building right across the courtyard from me with a window. And I saw the dude. And I was like, hey, man, I'm getting shot by a Rocketeer. And he was like, that's cool, man. Don't worry about it. And then he keeps shooting at me. And I was like, all right. So I put a blaze grenade where he wouldn't be able to, I put a blaze trap where he wouldn't be able to see it. And I just sat there and I waited because I was like, he's gonna get antsy and he's gonna try and rush me. And then sure enough, not a minute later, I hear the Rocketeer aggro, and then I hear him get catch on fire. And I was like, cool, that's my moment to run. So I immediately book it all the way around the corner into another building. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like looting a little bit. A few minutes pass, and then a dude rolls up onto the into the window, and I just immediately light him the fuck up. And he goes down, and I walk over and I'm like, oh man, so sorry. You like there was this guy chasing me and fucking I'm kind of paranoid. And he was like, no, that was me. GG's, man. And I was like, oh, shit, you found me. That's fucking awesome. And he was like, yeah, no, good game. Me and him ended up playing together after that.
Hell yeah. Yeah, some of the best moments I've had have come out of PvP like that for sure. Like, meeting somebody and then you go game together for a while. I had another funny one recently where I queued in to a squad fill match and I queued in with two guys who were probably two of the like most down bad players I've ever come across. I kid
Oh
you
my
not. One of the
gosh.
dudes came in with no shield. He
Oh
was
my
like, "Yeah, I
gosh.
come in with no loadout, no shield, and like I bring like my tool and a couple of grenades because I haven't been able to get out of a raid. So this way I have a safe pocket." And I was like, "Oh my
Yeah, fair
god,
enough.
I guess fair. Like it is what it is." And this the other guy was just a fairly fresh player. I think he was on the free kit and he didn't really know
Okay.
any of the map. So those two guys were just so lost. Like they came in, they squad filled, and like they didn't even have an objective really. Like, I was like, okay, so what do you guys want to do? And they were like, loot. And I was like, okay,
What
cool.
the?
Like
Well,
I have
yeah.
this loot route I normally run. I go and check all the security breaches, and then we go through these towers, and like there's a couple
Oh, you guys were
buildings
on
we can split
space.
off to. So yeah, we were on spaceport at the time, and
Yeah.
yeah,
I
I
can
just
tell just
led them
from what you said.
around. Yeah, I led them around. I was like, all right, we're gonna go to all of these. We're gonna get some guns. You guys each get a gun. I'm gonna drop some stuff out of the breaches, and we went. I don't think we fought anybody in that raid, but we ended up, staying partied up and went into another one. And we got into a fight and like died. But, it was just a funny endeavor, like leading them around and like realizing there's a lot of people who just like have a bad experience with the game, even though there's
Okay,
so many
yeah.
things they give you to have fun.
Right. Well, it's because it's not something I find a lot of gamers are used to having things hand fed to them. So when they have to
Hmm.
think for themselves a little bit, it just ends up becoming, oh, I'm gonna blame the game because I'm having a bad time because I actually have to use intelligence to do things. And that's not saying
Yeah.
they're stupid. Like they're definitely not stupid. A lot of these people are very intelligent, but like they're just not used to that way of playing. And so it ends up
Hmm.
being this like bad time. But I have come into contact with folks like that and like having moments with you where you like showed them that loot route and being like, yeah, man, like you can just go do this. I had that with this guy. He was very, very, very green. I think I caught him on his first match in a solos, and I was like, "Hey, man." I was on Dam, and I was like, "Hey, man, do you just like want to walk around with me? I'll show you some shit, and I have some stuff I can give you." Also, I gave him a renegade, I gave him an arpeggio, I gave him a whole bunch of medium ammo, and I gave him a hatch key. I was like, "Hey, man, just follow me around. I'll open up some breaches for you. I'll open up some other stuff. I'll show you sort of like what these are about, where you can find them, some good spots to loot on this map." I ended up taking him almost like all the way across Dam from we started in research and admin and we ended up like all the way over in the swamp at the hydroponic domes. And I was like, "All right, man." Like he was like, "Dude, I'm like completely full. I came in with a free." And I was like, "Cool. Do you just want to go?" And he was like, yeah, totally. Like, we probably have to go through this extract though. And I've been getting ratted on. I was like, no, you have that hatch key. We'll just go to a hatch. Here, I'll mark it. I marked it for him,
Hmm.
showed him where the hatch was. He got out. He was so happy.
Yeah. Sometimes people just need the kindness of
Yeah,
strangers.
truly. They really do. Because some people don't have friends. That was one thing that was hilarious to me about Night Rain when Elden Ring Night Rain came out. They were like, "The only thing we can't provide you with is friends to play this game."
Yeah, those moments are great when you get to help somebody out, add them, play with them for a bit, even if it's not always the best, outcome. Like, those guys I was playing with, we got out of one raid, then died the next one, whatever, but we had fun.
Right. No,
I
as long
showed
as
them
you're
some
I
stuff.
yeah, as long as you're having fun, that the thing that gets me is when you end up playing with somebody that gets, like, really mad when you die. They
Mhm.
like fully like, well, some like, kinda like how some people, like, if their team loses a football game, they're, like, irate and angry and violent the rest of the day, like, very
Yeah.
much that sort of vibe, and that just I can't play with people like that. It makes me so just like, "Dude, it's a game, it's fine. You'll go back and you'll get all of the stuff that you lost, I promise you."
Yeah. I tend to not get mad, but I, like, overanalyze, like, why I
That's what I do,
died,
yeah.
and I feel
Yeah.
like that frustrates some people, but it makes me, like, a better player, I feel like most of the time.
No,
Like,
I
I'll
fully
sit
agree with
there
that.
after I die and I'm like, "I feel like the reason I lost that fight was I went to put a jolt mine down, I slipped off this ledge, it put me in a bad position, blah, blah, blah." And
Mhm,
it really helps you, like, kind of work through things, figure out how to figure a better play style out or figure out a better move path, whatever you were doing.
mhm.
And, it's just kinda the way you gotta be. A lot of people struggle with that, but
Well, yeah, they'll
it's
blame their
it's
team.
fun.
That's something
I
that
like
I'm
to
really
analyze that shit.
thankful. No, same. That's something I'm really thankful for having played, like, Marvel Rivals and Overwatch and yeah, like games like the finals, like League of Legends and stuff, where like there's something that a lot of professional people who play games like that will say, and it's just like whenever because I was watching when I first got into League of Legends specifically, and what's the other game Riot Studios made that's very similar to the finals? Hold on, let me look. It is Valorant. So Valorant. When I was first getting into
Valorant.
Valorant, I don't really play it anymore, but when I was first getting into Valorant, I was like, I want to get good at this game. I need to get better at shooting in games in general because I'm really good at melee stuff, but I'm not super great with a gun in games. And so I decided to play Valorant. And I was watching a lot of people play the character that I was playing that was like a free one professionally at the time. And one of the things that dude said has stuck with me for such a long time. And it's that whenever I lose a match, I don't sit there and I go, what could my team have done better? I go, what could I have done better for myself and for my team?
Yeah,
And because
straight
what
up.
they could have done doesn't matter. They're in control of what they do. They can only better themselves. You can't bitch at people until they get better. That'll never happen. But you can analyze what you did and how you could be better. Because I do the same thing, DB. I literally sit there and I'll be like, all right, I definitely rushed way too far into that corridor without thinking about it. Got shot. I should not have turned around. I should have just kept on shooting to lay pressure so they didn't just keep laying bullets into me. And then my team wouldn't have gotten down trying to come and get my ass.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a lot of that for sure. You gotta be able to be self-aware and understand if it was your fault or not too. You can't
Exactly.
be mad at people or,
I think that's an
"Oh,
important thing.
you threw that fight, it was all you." No, everybody probably had some part of it because ultimately there's plenty of people who do 1v3s in the game too, so if you were so
That's what I'm
good
saying.
and
Yeah.
you're gonna win,
You would have won.
why
You
didn't
would
you?
have gotten out of that fight and gotten us all up. So why didn't you do that? It's because you did something too, and you need to improve as well. So we're always improving, and I think that's a really important takeaway everyone should have from playing games like this, where it's multiplayer, is like improve yourself. Don't worry about what your team is doing.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I think we've covered a lot of the stuff I wanted to talk about with Arc Raiders. I mean,
Cool.
I do want to think about some of the events, but we'll probably save that for another video. Talk more
Yeah.
about some of the actual events that have happened in the game and our takes on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Totally.
so yeah, I mean, I guess the other thing we kind of went into this talking about was like your tabletop RPGs. You said you were getting ready for a game this weekend, right? You
Yeah.
told me a
Yeah.
little bit about it. It's basically like an offshoot of D&D, correct? In a sense, like, I mean, it's like a
Kind of. Kind of.
reimagining in that one sense. Could you, like, talk a little bit about that?
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Reimagining of D&D. What an interesting thought there. Yeah,
I don't know, that's kind of like my take on it, so I guess
no, I
correct me
totally
if
get
I'm
that.
wrong.
No, yeah, yeah. No, I totally I you're not the first person to tell me that, and I think it's I mean, I think it's valid because I think many people think, like, D&D was definitely, like, the first very popular tabletop RPG, but there were tabletop RPGs besides D&D that came out even before D&D came out that Gary Gygax was definitely inspired by. I can't say exactly
Mhm,
what they are off the top of my head right this second, but, like, TTRPGs have existed in one way or another for a super long time. The most popular one does happen to be D&D, and me and my buddies who do the podcast together talk about this a lot, where, like, whenever we're referencing what we're playing, we'll just be like, "Oh yeah, we're playing D&D, but it's just not D&D." And then people know what you're talking about.
mhm.
Because if I say
Yeah,
TTRPG, people are like, "What the fuck is that?" Which for the
yeah,
people who
or
are
even
listening, if you
just
don't know what that is tabletop role playing game.
yeah, and even if you just say, like, tabletop game or something like that, people will
They'll think
just get
Monopoly.
lost. Yeah, they're like,
Yeah,
"What?"
yeah. They're like, "You guys
So
are playing Hungry Hungry Hippos? What do you mean, man?"
mhm,
Yeah, so, like, I mean, grown ass people playing Hungry Hungry Hippos is actually very fun if there are shots involved. That's neither here nor there, though. So yeah, so what I'm doing this weekend is I am playing my recent hyperfixation, just ADHD and autism is a bitch, is, Mothership, which is a game designed by Tuesday Night Games? Yes, Tuesday Night Games. I actually have their page pulled up right here. I was like, I think it's either Tuesday Night Games or Tuesday Night something else, but it's Tuesday and then night, like the nights in the Renaissance, not like NIGHT, but KNIGHT. And
yeah,
Mothership
I got it
takes
pulled up on the
place.
screen here.
Oh, hell yeah. Cool, cool. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Sponsor me, Tuesday Night Games. I love your games. But yeah, so Mothership takes place in a world that's like very similar, but for I'm assuming copyright purposes isn't the Alien universe, but like it has all of the vibes of the Alien universe, like, technology that looks like you pulled it out of the 80s and put it in a spaceship. Um Large ships that have like space truckers inside of them, androids that bleed like milk looking blood and that, occasionally you can't really trust, online AI, and just a lot of stuff like that. And so one, that aesthetic, like Event Horizon, Alien, going as far as maybe like the 1980s movie Leviathan. I mean, you could go hard on that all day. I could go as far as like The Expanse or even like Murder
Yeah,
Drone, I think is his name. That's a
I'm loving
show and
their
it's also a book.
style.
It's very cool. It's very, very cool. Their style is very just like deep, dark, grim sci-fi without being a Warhammer 40K, which I really appreciate because Warhammer 40K deserves to be its own thing and not be copied by other people. But that's it.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I just recently got it. This is like the actual module that you get when you first. So it's just like this big ass box, and it just has like all of these like super old school looking, like you would pick up at a comic book shop, like 1980s Zine style sort of stuff. So like stapled together paper.
Nice. Hell yeah. Yeah, I like the
But like
vibe for sure.
it's so cool. Like all of these, like it's just comes with like a bunch of books like this, right? Like all these little zines, and I'm a sucker for anything like very indie Zine related. When I say
Mhm.
Zine, I mean like a tiny little magazine basically that like
Yeah,
has
yeah.
like comics in it or like they were very, very, very prevalent in like the 80s and the 90s specifically. And they've come back a lot recently, actually, especially in the TTRPG community. But anyway, yeah, so it's about space travel. Very straightforward, simple game to run. It's very much like role playing forward versus like crunchy rolling forward. When I say crunchy, I mean like lots of rules. So like for me, D&D tends to be a little bit too crunchy in the sense of like you're managing a lot of things when you're doing combat. You're managing a lot of things when it's not your turn during combat. It's like you just don't exist and you don't have any agency. That sucks. And like, yeah, there's just so many things going on. And if you're trying to show this to like somebody who like wouldn't play TTRPGs normally, they're gonna be like, that sounds like too much. I don't really want to deal with all of that. And
Mhm.
so that's what I like about games like this. Like you would essentially call them like what do you call it? OSRs, original something Renaissance. But essentially it's like D&D 1E basically, where it's very straightforward. There's just a little bit of rolling involved. The combat is pretty simple and deadly, and you're kind of just rolling through an area and RPing whatever you're doing. And so what I like about it specifically is one, there's a panic system. So there's this system where essentially you take levels of stress. So every time you fail a roll, you like roll a stress roll, and
Okay.
you're trying to get over your current stress score. So your stress starts at, I believe, like I think it's like 2 or 3, depending on the character, and then it goes up every single time, and you're rolling a d20 for this. And then as it goes up, if you fail the stress roll, you add stress to it. And then if you ever critically fail, you have a panic roll. And the panic roll has a chart that you roll on that basically makes you do something. Like you like run in fear and hide. So like think of like Aliens, Bill Paxton's character
Mhm.
where he's like, game over, man, game over. Like that sort of vibe where you just freak the fuck out. It's kind of like that. That'd be like what the panic table is. And then really it's just body saves, and then like you have certain expertise and things, and that's it. And the game explicitly says you're only really supposed to roll if it's unsure of what the outcome of something might be. So like if you're a scientist and you're like a biologist, right? And you're looking at like some weird alien stuff, and like analyzing it, you should just be able to do that. You don't really need to roll anything, but you can roll to like get a little more insight out of what you're looking at. So I really appreciate that aspect of it. Anyway,
Yeah.
all of that to
Huh?
say, I'm going to be doing my very first time being what they call, so the DM in this is called the warden. And I'm going to be doing my first time
Alright.
as a warden for Mothership, playing this game called The Haunting of Ypsilon 14, which is one of their starter scenarios. It's just a little, here, I'll show you. It's just like a little pamphlet. It's literally just a front and a back. I'm going to do it on the website so I don't like show their product. Because I did buy it, and I've been looking at it, and it's a cool little scenario. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I remember that was one of the kind of pain points when we did play D&D was the like learning all of your spells and the roles you had to take as a player
Mhm.
could be like kind of painstaking, honestly. Like, and if you wanted to make your character really cool and unique, it was just even more
A
so
lot of
that.
management. Yeah, just a lot of spell management. And don't get me wrong, like when
So,
you get like used to it, it's not bad. It's actually pretty easy
mhm.
if you like organizing stuff in the way I'm insane and I like organizing things, but that's why I'm a data analyst professionally, right? And so like
Mhm.
that's not for everybody. And so for me, like I have my TTRPG that I made, Altered, which the system for it that I'm playing currently is called The Edge of Madness. Where it is very straightforward and everything is like incredibly easy. The cost of what you're doing and the what the spell does are in the spell itself. There's no outward anything you really have to take care of. You do the thing and it happens. That's it. And then like it can fail, but like that's it. They're not managing like spell slots and having to remember them every single day or anything like that, which I appreciate. And Mothership is really straightforward because it's just you're human or you're an android. Like that's it.
Mhm.
And so you don't have any
Well,
specific powers or anything. They have like power armor and stuff. Anyway, Haunting of Epsilon 14 is you're essentially on this like mining station, and the mining station is getting a shipment of supplies from the company that the characters work for. And so these characters are coming in with a shipment of supplies. They've been doing this pretty regularly for the last couple of years. They like switch in and out with different people every once in a while to like bring it out. They get paid for doing like 6 months in space, and then they come back. And anyways, so this is like just supposed to be a very like very simple, like they do this a lot. It's very normal and nothing has ever gone wrong. And then they show up this time, and people are just acting really weird. One guy went missing, but some of the people don't really want to go investigating it quite yet because I think he's maybe just hiding somewhere on the station and he'll turn up eventually. It all kind of ties into this like yellow goo, though. Now, I don't want to spoil the scenario for anybody, but essentially there's this like yellow goo that like infects people and makes them scared of water, and that's all I'll say. And so the players are trying to figure out like what's going on, who's infected. There's a monster involved, and like it's invisible, so nobody can see it. So it'll just randomly show up sometimes and start killing people, and they're trying to figure out what the fuck that is. And again, just mayhem.
oh, yeah.
But yeah, I'm really excited
Yeah,
to run it.
I hope that more people can come around to the tabletop gaming as far as like a means for hanging out with friends because
Yeah,
like some of the times we had like playing D&D with everybody that we were playing with was just like peak friend hangout. We had so much fun
yeah,
making food
yeah. Peak
together,
homies
playing
relaxing. Yeah,
together.
totally.
So I think
Yeah, I think that was
anything people can do to make that more attainable for anybody who wants to play games with their friends, whether it's video games or otherwise.
yeah, totally. Well,
I'm always blown away.
people who are adverse to TTRPGs are like oh, well, it's for kids. But like, if you really think about it, like really, really, really think about this, adults have a super hard time getting together with each other. If somebody ever says, "Oh yeah, we should get dinner sometime," you are not going to see that person for months and months unless you explicitly plan an event with a time and a date that they can set aside time for, so it's like way out. And
Yeah.
that is exactly what TTRPG is. I rarely see my friends in person if we're going to, unless we're going to like a bar or a show or something. I saw you to go to that show the other day. But like,
Mhm.
if I plan TTRPGs with them, I actually get all of them into one room. And we are all sitting there. We're talking. We're having conversation. We're just shooting the shit. A lot of the times, like the first hour I do the recordings of my podcast, I always cut this out, but it's just us catching up because we haven't talked in a while, except about like
Mhm.
our schedules and like ideas about certain things we want to do for the podcast. And so we'll just catch up with each other and hang out for like an hour or two and then start doing the podcast because like it's just an excuse for us to get together and talk and have a good time.
For sure. And like it's awesome using your creativity to have fun together. Like
Exactly.
that I think is probably my favorite part of all the TTRPG stuff that I've done is just like flexing your brain and thinking about fun ways to do things and like learning how your friend likes to react to scenarios like that where they
Mhm.
can just do whatever they want. And
You learn a lot
yeah,
about
it's
people. Yeah,
so
totally.
fun.
Totally.
Yeah.
We've had moments where like, and if anybody listening to this wants to go listen to the podcast, we've had moments where like when we talk about this in our after shows, whenever I get a chance to edit them and put them out, is like the characters will be like, I genuinely didn't know if that was me or if that was the character. It might have been a little bit of both, but I was definitely projecting and working through some shit in that situation. And like,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
and it does happen, and that's like okay. It's okay. It's almost a weird way for men who are not down to do therapy
Yeah, yeah. Video games tend to be that for a lot of people too.
as well.
Taking out
Yeah,
your aggression
absolutely.
on people, all of it. Yeah.
It's
But
healthy. It
I
is. It's
do
good for you.
yeah, and I do appreciate that the tabletops give you a lot of structure, but also give you a lot of freedom because you're not constrained by like, "Oh, I can't animate my character to do this," or like, "It's not built the
Right.
game's not built to let me do this." It's like, well, if the warden decides you can, like, sure, you can do something silly or like
Yeah.
try
Yeah.
at least.
Well, I think the best,
And you gotta
and I mean
imagine it.
some game masters, people who run games, whatever system it is. This is a very system agnostic observation. Like are just down to like let you do whatever. And honestly, I think that creates the best moments for me personally. Whenever I get derailed from what I'm trying to do, like as the person running the game. So in my game, it's called a curator, or curator of worlds. Like as a curator, whenever I'm sitting there being the curator and somebody just fucks over the plan I'm trying to do, thinks their way out of it, or even worse, fucks it up so badly, I have to now go rewrite things to like not kill them.
Mhm.
I had the most fun because I have to actively now think
Yeah.
on my feet. It has changed the way fundamentally I do tabletop game design for one. Like when I'm designing games or scenarios for Altered, it's changed the way I do that because now instead of because what I started doing was I revolved everything around an integral story when I first started writing TTRPGs, like way back in the day when I was like 13 or 14. And then over the years, that's evolved into sandboxes. I just make sandboxes because like if you have a sandbox, you know what's going on, you know what the people are going to do, you know the characters involved, and you know what the situation is. And then if anything happens, you have tools to then resolve it because you know
Yeah.
what the situation is. And you're not like, oh, they didn't hit my story beat.
Mhm. You just roll with the punches and change it so that they do hit the story beat or change the
Yeah,
story beat altogether based off the idiotic decision they made to piss off some guy
yeah.
in the street.
Yeah, no, exactly. One sometimes your players will like this is something that like your players teach you more than you think they do. I played with this one dude one time who like gave me this advice and it was something I was doing, but I'd never put it into context before really. The way he said it was so cool. We were playing a Carcosa, which is like kind of where the Yellow King hangs out in Lovecraftian lore. So we were playing Call of Cthulhu. And I was playing it on like a Discord server. I forget what it was, if it was the good friends of Jackson Elias Khan or if it was just a regular Discord server. Because I'm part of a few where I just join one shots randomly to see how other people run games. And this dude, he comes in and he's like, we like found this map and like we're like, oh okay, well if we take this building on the map and we just move it, maybe it'll actually move the building because of the weird logic in the universe that we're in. And he was like, yeah, that happens. And then afterward, we were like, was that your plan? Was that where you're trying to get us to? He was like, no, I had a completely different thing going on. But you were like, this is the thing that solves it. And I was like, fuck it. That's the thing that solves it.
Yes. Oh my god.
And I do that so
And
much
yeah,
because, like, yeah, let your players tell you what the solve is.
uh-huh. If it gets you to the story point that you want, whatever.
They
Enjoy.
had fun. What matters most?
Sometimes.
What
Yeah,
matters
exactly.
most in every TTRPG, every video game, every game, period, is that it is a game. You are an active participant.
Mhm.
And this is something I think the Mothership people did really, really, really well. They have a whole warden's handbook just for like, this is how you should run games. And the whole thing is just advice for running games. And it's like, you could use it as system agnostic. Like, it's just good advice for running any game at all. And one of the biggest things is like, you are a player. Just because you're running the game doesn't mean you're actively the aggressor against your team. You are not the enemy of your team, and you're not a hero to your team. You're a neutral party. But more importantly, you're supposed to have fun. And if your team is having fun and you're having fun, your players are having fun. It doesn't fucking matter what your story beat was, man. You laughed and had a
Mhm.
good time. That's what matters the most. I mean, like some of the most successful episodes of our podcast are ones where we just do improv and we all the world and we each set a scene and then tell each other who's going to be the characters in that scene, and then we just act through it, and we have a few roles here and there where we like interject things. That is the most like structure inside of the format of which we do that, and we have so much fun playing that. Like the most recent one, which was Make America Again, was isekai'd a bunch of MAGA supporters into a fantasy world, and they tried to make America again.
Oh god.
No, it was super fun. It was super fun because we ended up having it where these elves were like almost sort of like the corporatocracy. Like they were just like kind of
Mhm.
down with everybody. We deserve to be in charge of everything. We are the 1%, basically, right? And one of them ended up having a moment where like he was like, without the context of all the socio-political stuff that I have back home, what these people are doing is actively really bad, but aligns with a lot of what I see back home. And he ends up getting like very centrist and trying to get this gnome rebellion who was run by a Bernie Sanders-esque gnome whose name was Pepperidge Farms, because I had to write a speech that ended with Pepperidge Farm remembers. Getting through a rebellion and kind of getting them to all like come to terms with each other. And it was really but it ended with that whole world having TV and like sports games, and like it became America, but like, you know, not the one we live in today. An idealized
Yeah.
America, if you will.
Yeah. But I mean, that's what makes those games the most fun is you just get to stretch your mind. There's not really as much of a downside as I think a lot of people imagine, like playing the game. It's just a lot more of the game is just hanging out and talking to your friends than I think most
Yeah,
people think. And
yeah,
D&D is a bit of a problem with that because of the like managing your character can be complicated, but
yeah.
yeah, I mean, some of the stuff you've described to me sounds like super fun. So definitely interested to hop in and join in some of these new TTRPGs for sure.
Yeah, come play with us sometime. I mean, I run a gambit of TTRPGs from independent studios because I just don't like supporting wizards, and there's a lot of there's a lot of them. There's a few that I specifically run though. So there's Delta Green, which I will fucking remember the name of the publishing studio to shout them out because they're kind of a small publishing studio. Let me see here. Oh, Delta Green Partnership. Interesting. I know there's like specifically a company that like owns this though. Anyway, Delta Green is basically like picture X Files, but with Cthulhu entities inside of it.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I just pulled up their site. Hell yeah.
So that's one that I run a little bit. I haven't run a session with my guys yet, but I've run a few, and Delta Green's just amazing. It's literally a government agency that pulls in random people off of the street that tend to be like allied with the organization or not, and then tell them you have no credentials whatsoever. We have no connection to you. We will help you with cleaners if you have dead bodies to maybe cover stuff up, but if you get caught, it's on you. And you're gonna go in as basically pretending to be an FBI agent and figure whatever the fuck is going out in this town as much as possible and kill any witnesses. So that's Delta Green. Morkborg, which is by Free Publishing, which is I want to say Finnish company. I don't remember off the top of my head, but Free League Publishing. does Morkborg, and that's just an OSR. It's very similar to like D&D 1.0, except it has a little bit less crunchiness, way less rules, and people die constantly. It's just heavy metal cartoony bullshit. I believe it's actually Murkburg is the way you're supposed to pronounce it
A
in
doom metal
Finnish.
album of a game. Big flail to the face. Light on rules. Light on rules, heavy.
Yeah, Morkborg is the
Everything
shit, dude.
else.
I love Morkborg so much. It's so all of the silliest shit I think we've done in some of our one shots, which are gonna come out on our Patreon pretty soon, definitely happen in Morkborg. That Call of
Nice.
Cthulhu, obviously Call of Cthulhu is just amazing. That's a Chaosium Inc. one, and I just love the Call of Cthulhu community. And then I want to start running Daggerheart, which is like the sort of D&D esque thing that the Critical Role people just came out with. They actually have a publishing company, Darrington Press, but Matt Mercer helped write that one, and they have a really cool fate system sort of thing. Not the There is a system called the fate system, not like that, but they have a system where like you can have goods and bads happen inside of your role, even if you do succeed or fail, which I think is really cool.
Hmm.
And like cards for all of the classes and the spells and stuff, so it's easier to keep track of them, and you can like throw the cards out when you're doing the spell, which is really cool. And then, yeah, I mean, I run a lot of Altered just because I like the game that I made and it's fun. So, yeah, so come play with us
Yeah.
sometime. I mean, we could even have you on the podcast sometime if you want. We run a lot of one shots.
Yeah, I definitely want to learn more about the game you've made. I've been hearing about it from you for a while, but haven't
Yeah,
learned too much about it yet.
yeah, no, totally. I know I definitely want to run. I'm working on a sci-fi setting for it. Just like I said, my hyperfixation is sci-fi right now. TBD on that because I don't want to give out too much to the public, but it's called The Quiet Void, and it centers around a lot of the same elements that happen in sort of the connected altered universe, but it's in a reality that doesn't have a lot of things that I'm going to have happen in the fantasy setting in it, where it's just humans in the far future. And so I'm just going to use that to kind of do like any ideas that I have for sci-fi stuff that I want to do within my world that I've created, I'm going to do in the quiet void as opposed to writing scenarios for Mothership. But like the Mothership community is so fucking cool, kind of going back on that because I've been kind of hyper fixated on it for a little bit. Like they have a companion app that you can build maps on, you can run games out of. It has a roller, it has a character creator, so like all of the things that you would need to run a game, and you only have to buy a license. It's not a subscription. So I think it was like $15 for the virtual tabletop. It was like $4 for the shipbuilder's kit, and then it was like $3 for the character creator, and you can make as many create you can make as many characters as you want to. So like server space alone, that's amazing. And it's not a subscription. So you can literally just once you buy it, you have it forever. As far as I know, I mean currently as the state of it, that's what it is. And it's an app you can put on your computer and on your phone. So you can run things from your phone as well. And then they have a Discord that has a community just built around the companion app. And there's a dude on there named Unmoored Ego who, if you ask if he's made a map for it, he will just give you the code for the map for free.
That's cool. Hell yeah. Yeah, it's crazy how little communities arise like that. Discord has really given a good platform for people like that. Just communities of people who like make stuff for niche games. I mean, like I said, I made Fortnite maps, and there's just
Yeah, yeah.
communities like that for every single game you can imagine, whether it's a
Heck yeah.
tabletop game, a video game, whatever. It's wild. Well, yeah, man. I
Yeah.
mean, you mentioned your podcast a few times. What is the actual like name that people can look up on Spotify? I forget if you said it
Sorry.
yet.
I I love writing our podcast. It's something that I was really passionate about doing for like 6 years, and then one day I got off my ass and actually decided to do it. And I get overwhelmed editing it sometimes, but like I love doing that pod. It's just so fun for me, and it's so much of my life now. It's called Edge of Madness or Edge of Madness Pod. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Podbean currently. And, I mean, we have like 24 episodes as well as 2 Halloween on Thanksgiving episodes where we do that improv thing I mentioned. And then I'm working on a Patreon right now. That is TBD of when I'm actually gonna because I have to figure out some legal stuff for some of the things I want to put on the Patreon. But we're also gonna have bonus episodes on there. So like that Mothership scenario I mentioned we're going to run next Saturday. That's going to go up on the Patreon whenever we get it done and I edit it and put it on there. But yeah,
Mhm.
you can find it in any of those places.
Hell yeah, man. Well, I guess I'll leave you with one final question. What is one game that everyone should try at least once?
Ooh. What's yours? And then let me think about this.
Mine is it's controversial, but I think that honestly Rust is up there for me
Okay.
because of how open-ended it is. I think it's a game where you should try it once, but you should be shown like some of the game. Like you need someone like you need a Sherpa or a guide. But I
Right.
think that that game has a lot more crazy features of like many other games built into it that a lot of people don't realize. Like there's like power
Mm.
systems in the game, there's plant breeding systems, there's
Oh, wow.
like so many different things that you would never see on the surface of the
Right.
game. And yeah, yeah, I think Rust is up there for me because it's one of my all-time favorites and like one of my all-time like most hated games because it's like it can be such a time suck and it can like irk you beyond all fucking measure like when someone steals your shit and like takes your house unjustly or something like that. But
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, lots of
it,
losses, but good things
there's
too.
so many things you can do, and
Well, they have Rust on
it's
console
one
now,
of
man.
they
Maybe you'll
do,
get
yeah.
it.
It's one of the most like open-ended games. I will say Rust console is not quite as good as PC Rust, but it's still
No,
pretty
I
good.
mean, that's the case for, like,
And
anything ported over.
yeah, and I think it's not necessarily the most like mechanic heavy game. It's very simple at its core. It just kind of makes you feel like you're in a world and you can shoot guns and make things. But
Right.
as it like we talked about, some of the most fun I've had gaming ever is the social dynamics and like the weird shit that happens in those type of games. So I think it's
Yeah, no,
great.
absolutely. Well, I mean, I think the obvious one is everyone should try our creators at least once if you like video games in any capacity. But for me, this one's gonna be a little bit, like, very niche, and maybe a lot of people haven't heard of it unless you're really into Lovecraftian stuff, but if you like RPGs, kind of like Outer Worlds or Fallout, and, like, those kind of vibes, do yourself a favor, play Sinking City. It is one of the
Sinking
most
City. Okay.
it is one of the most satisfying times I've had playing a role-playing game since I played Fallout 3.
Is it the Sinking City?
Yeah, The Sinking
Okay.
City. And what it is you're like this in
Frogwares. Okay.
yeah, Frogware. You're an investigator who's just very stereotypical, sort of 1920s burnt out alcoholic PI. And but you have like these powers that come from something that happened in your past. I haven't quite gotten into it in the game where like they tell you what happened, but like you're basically able to see the leftover remnants of memories that people have. So like if there's like a crime scene, like you can watch by going into this like space in your head, you can actually like follow the memories of what happened with people and follow that to clues. Um, so when you first start the game, it's a little frustrating getting through the very first part of it. I know it took me a while. Once you get it though, and you actually get into the city that you're going into, it's this island where the whole city is actually like sinking into the ocean. And there's just eldritch nonsense happening fucking everywhere. There are so many little storylines and so many little side quests and so many little tiny things and people that you can get involved with. It becomes such a fulfilling thing because you'll have this like very, very self-contained story that like breaks your fucking heart when you get to the end of it. And then you'll like go on to the next thing and end up with this like mob dude who's like trying to get you to like cover his ass on something because there's a clone of him walking around. And now you're going around trying to find this clone of him and not run into him because his cronies will kill you. It's just a really fun game. There's so much that you can do in it. There's such a cool skill tree leveling system. There's a lot of guns you can find. If you die, you're going to lose your guns. So like there's a big thing of like if you have shit that you want to keep, you got to really plan out what you're trying to do. And then if you die, you're trying to go back out, get all of the stuff that you need to do the mission again. And then you're going back in with a better plan.
Mhm.
So it really forces you to think on your feet, really forces you to decide what your decisions are going to be because your decisions affect how the story goes. And it really forces you to consider using everything in the game. Like there's not one thing in that game that I've found useless.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I love me a good mystery game. I think one that comes to mind, like a story-driven mystery game that I loved was the Talos Principle. So honorable
Mm,
mention to the Talos Principle. It's like this
mm.
weird dystopian puzzle game where you're an AI who wakes up in a simulation after humans have died, and you have to basically attain consciousness and like
Oh, that's
prove that
cool.
you're like real and conscious and like escape all these puzzles. Super
That's
great.
wild. Yeah, that's
It's yeah, it's
wild.
got a really cool like premise, just like in the set and setting, which I liked. But
That gives me,
yeah,
like, Portal
Rust is the
2 vibes a little bit.
yeah, yeah. Rust is like the opposite of that. Like there's no systems built into your character. You are just the same person that everybody else is. You gotta learn the world and learn how to manipulate it.
See, I like games
It's
like
pretty
that because
crazy.
as somebody who grew up with, like, a lot of TV shows that would be like, when you play a video game, it's like this interconnected world and everybody has conversations and it feels like you have, like, a life there. Like, I always wanted that out of a game, and I never played WoW, so I never really got it, except in
Yeah,
RuneScape a
Rust
little bit.
Rust does a good job of that, like to the degree of like it being a problem. Like if you
Yeah.
play Rust like in a serious capacity, people just like no life it and like are on all week long, like playing
Oh, wow.
every night after work, trying to like keep their base alive. And it becomes weird, but on modded servers where it's less serious, you can have a lot of fun in that game.
Nice, okay,
The
cool.
vanilla gameplay is a little bit toxic though, for sure, as everybody says.
I'm sure it can be with anything, right? People take it too seriously or not seriously enough, and then you have that, like, weird middle ground that you're always trying to land on.
Well, man, we just crossed over 2 hours here. I think it's been a solid conversation to start it off. Do you
I
have
think so
anything
too.
else you wanted to add in there? Any shout outs or anything?
Off the top of my head, no, not really. I would say that this was fun. Just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Thanks for inviting me to do this, and yeah, let's keep doing it. I had fun.
Yeah, no problem, man. Yeah, I've got a Discord already built so people can join the Buttons and Buds Discord. I'll have that linked in the descriptions for sure. And then you can find Buttons and Buds on pretty much any social media platform. I've got Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all the whole nine. I haven't uploaded anything to Spotify yet, so this will probably be the premiere on Spotify. But hopefully you'll be able to search Buttons and Buds on any platform and find this. So, woo!
Oh,
Going forward, hopefully we'll do this once a month or maybe even more frequently. We'll see.